name's Rick Boogs, and I came to rock with the Beyond the Mats podcast that is beyond the MATT podcast. Ah!
All right, it's Beyond the Mat. It's Wednesday. We're here for our Wednesday fix of the week with Matt and Kyle. We're going to be giving you the lowdown and our opinions on the latest that WWE has brought to us, especially the big news of the week on Monday night, Sasha Banks and Naomi, all the things that have happened with that, as well as the developing storylines that we've seen on SmackDown and Raw, respectively. The biggest thing is Sasha and Naomi. There's people reporting things and conflicting other reports and twisting words here, and we don't really know what to make. I don't think anybody really knows what to make of it, but we'll figure it out. I got Kyle here with me today, and I'm going to throw to him in a minute. How are you doing, Kyle?
Good enough.
All right, so obviously the big news of the week is the Sasha Banks and Naomi evidently walking out of Monday Night Raw during the show just after it aired. It was supposed to be a main event of a six-pack challenge between Naomi, Sasha Banks, Asuka, Becky Lynch, Doudrop, and Nikki ASH. Now, at first glance, that match doesn't make sense to me, so I'll just say that right from Jump Street. And that's why I just play that sounder. It just isn't a good match to have as your main event out of nowhere, not advertised at all. The other thing is, going into the match, we found out that it never happened. 45 minutes into the show, we find out that we're getting a main event of Becky Lynch and Asuka for the number one contendership and a shot at Hell in a Cell pay-per-view title match against Bianca Belair. Now, to me, at the end of all this, I don't understand why we have a babyface facing a babyface champion. And let me get even more into that as we find out from multiple sources within WWE and multiple very highly acclaimed and highly respected wrestling, pro wrestling reporters and podcasters, whatever you want to call them out there, have reported that Naomi was scheduled to go over in this six-woman challenge. And Sasha Banks also was scheduled to, in some way, shape, or form, earn a title shot on SmackDown for the SmackDown Women's title against Rousey, both to occur at the pay-per-view, both women to lose in their respective title matches to the champions, which to them made them feel like they were diminishing what they had accomplished in the tag team realm. From the perspective of Sasha and Naomi, they took on the tag team spotlight. They worked really hard to make it something important. And then all of a sudden they're being put into a title feud, basically for no reason, with no story built to it at all, as opposed to putting them into a tag title feud with the tag team newly made and formed right for you in that six-pack challenge, Nikki ASH and Doudrop. Now, on top of that, they're supposed to be losing in these matches just to put over another babyface champion and then not make any sort of follow-up effort to defend their tag titles, which makes no sense whatsoever if Vince cared about tag team wrestling, which he doesn't. Now, it's worth noting as well that Sasha Banks is known to be a handful backstage. So there could be a lot of things that led up to this. And my opinion overall is you should not leave your job when you're paid to. You should, if you're supposed to do a job, you are paid to be there. You do it until it's over, whether you agree with it or not, and then you deal with it afterwards. Now, obviously, that wasn't the case here. WWE had to pivot. I did not agree with the fact that they made a statement about it. I do understand that they felt like they needed to address it to their fans, but they said, "We're sorry for not delivering the advertised main event." They didn't advertise that main event at all until about 10 minutes before the damn show. And sorry about not delivering a main event. How about sorry about not delivering a main event at Backlash? It's not exactly something that they are right. I mean, different things change. Have all so the fact that they said that Naomi and Sasha did not have comfortability with two other ladies in the ring was something I had a problem with because that's not true. They don't have a problem working with Doudrop. They don't have a problem working with Nikki Ash, and that's one of the things that Sasha wanted. She wanted to work with them rather than doing this meaningless women's championship, which she does want the women's championship side. Now, from WWE's perspective, they look at it as we gave you the opportunity to shine and get your win at WrestleMania, win the tag titles, get in there with all those ladies, and you know, grow that women's division the way you want to, get some spotlight that way. And now we're giving you an opportunity at the women's title, which we feel like we owe you. And Sasha Banks says, the hell with that. I care about the creative going into it and the work I've put into the creative that I've been given. So this really reminds me of Stone Cold Steve Austin not wanting to go along with putting over Brock Lesnar without any prior storyline to it. He had no problem with Brock Lesnar beating him in the King of the Ring qualifying match. He just said, there's no reason for me to put over this guy. I'm a big deal. I'm Stone Cold Steve Austin. And to beat me, there should be a feud involved in it. And WWE had none. So he took his ball and went home. I don't respect either situation, but I can understand both sides of it. Now, the other part of it is we don't know where they're going from here. That being Sasha and Naomi, we don't know whether they're staying and leaving. We know that they left their tag belts on the table of John Laurinaitis, left with their baggage. And that's basically all we've heard from it. Most wrestlers backstage, contrary to what's been reported, are of the mindset of they shouldn't have left during TV. However, if they did have a problem with creative, it's understandable. And leaving during the show is just not something that's, a respectable thing to do. That's the overwhelming majority opinion. Some have other opinions as well. Obviously, a lot of AEW wrestlers have chimed in on this too. Bailey has backed up Sasha on social media. And, it's just a big mess, honestly, for the whole company to be dealing with this right now. And I do think a lot of it has to do with things that we don't know and things that Sasha Banks and Vince McMahon have in their professional relationship that we don't know about that just sort of boil out of control at certain points. And, I think it's a shame that this had to happen. It's a shame that we had to see poor Nikki Ash and Doudrop, who were supposed to be in this qualifying match, even though they would lose, get totally pulled from Raw altogether because of this. But that's a small thing, a small collateral damage for a much bigger issue here. I do think that there's more to it than we've been told, and I think that both sides have probably some blame to it. And I'm definitely interested to hear what somebody else thinks about it because I've only heard the opinions of others and things being reported in a very conflicted way, in a very frivolous way, because it's always just a very vague quote taken out of context. And I think that until we find out really what's going on, we're not going to know, but it doesn't hurt to speculate as long as we're not doing so in a negative way. So, what do you think about all this? Start wherever you want to. Floor is yours.
Yeah, I think the key word that you used there was speculation. So I just want to make sure the entire audience understands that we are just making assumptions here. We are just speculating. We don't know exactly what went down. in that room, and we don't know exactly the feelings of Sasha and Naomi. Now, what we do know is what WWE has been telling us. And what WWE has been telling us is that they walked out unprofessionally during their show and it messed up their plans. So that part of it, I would agree that walking out during a show is unprofessional. Now, this is where my personal opinion comes in. I don't care. Now, that might surprise some of you by me saying that, but I don't care how unprofessional it looks. And this is why. The reason is, well, there's a lot of reasons, but there's been a lot of buildup for this whole process before it even happened. This has been something that's been brewing between talent and creative, and I'm not just talking about with Sasha. I'm talking about with a lot of different talent that works for WWE. And they have been trying to voice their opinions with creative and voice their opinions with management. And there's been plenty of complaints in the past, and they continue to do nothing whatsoever about it. So the only recourse, in my opinion, at this point is action. Now, the only action that will affect them is talent leaving their show. That's the only message that they can send that's actually going to be received by WWE, because now you're messing with WWE's money. Now you're messing with their profits and the talent that's on their show, and they don't like that. So now it seems like WWE is out there trying to have a smear campaign against Sasha specifically, but Naomi as well, because during the entire episode, you heard multiple times by the announcers and different people that they unprofessionally left that episode. And they said, oh, we don't know what happened, but there's probably more to it. And so they're easily burying talent here. Now, a lot of people are also making speculation as to if this is real or fake, or in wrestling terminology, is this a shoot or is this a work? Now, a work is possible, of course, a work meaning that this is all fake and made up and part of a story, right? But whenever something is being worked, you have to ask yourself who is benefiting and why. And in this situation, nobody benefits. WWE does not benefit. Sasha and Naomi don't benefit. And the storyline won't benefit. So what would be the point of this being a work? It's not a work. In my opinion, this is a shoot. This is something that Sasha and Naomi have been building up inside for a really long time. And Sasha's the type of person to not hold back on her actions. When she believes in something, she will move forward and she will push people to the side. And I think in this case, she's bringing Naomi with her. And I think Naomi, I don't know if she feels exactly the same as Sasha. Of course, this is speculation again, folks. But in my opinion, I think that Sasha and Naomi are completely in the right here. I don't care how unprofessional it looks. Look, I've been in positions where I've been unhappy with how I've been treated in the workplace. And the only recourse that I had after complaining and giving plenty of examples, valid, factual examples to my management as to why they should listen to my story, they never did. So the only recourse that I had, the only action that I could have taken was to leave that job. And that's what I did. And that's what Sasha and Naomi are doing here too. So I completely behind them in their actions here. And I don't even care what kind of negative image it gives them. Now, this is the other reason why I don't think this is a work, because Sasha and Naomi would not allow WWE to destroy their character. And I'm not talking about their in-ring character. I'm not talking about Sasha Banks and Naomi's characters in wrestling. I'm talking about who they are as real people. WWE is burying them as real people. They broke down the barrier when they said Raw is all scripted. They basically told the audience that it's fake, but they still crapped on Sasha and Naomi. And to me, that is not a work. That is a shoot. And I feel bad for them. I hope that this message gets across. And I hope that WWE and the two of them can work things out and move forward. We don't know what's going to happen from this point on. Nobody knows. There's obviously more speculation as to what's going to happen. Is WWE going to let them go? Is Sasha and Naomi going to ask for the release? If they do ask for the release, is WWE going to allow it? I don't think so. They haven't allowed a lot of releases in the past, even big name people, and they just end up having to leave anyway because of that.
Well, before we get that far, let me address a couple of the things that you brought up.
Yeah.
Because I think this is definitely something we should go back and forth on. You know what I mean? Because it's a lot of...
It's quite a topic.
Right. There's a lot to unpack here. We have a statement by the WWE you mentioned. We both agree that it made Naomi and Sasha look bad. Now, in the defense of WWE, and I'm not defending WWE here, I'm just trying to lay everything out on the table and look at it. That's all. So, looking at it from their point of view, having two of their quote-unquote superstars walk out during a show, knowing that they were upset with their creative. They want to probably cover their own ass in some way, knowing that Naomi and Sasha may say, we didn't like the fact that they had us all of a sudden in a six-pack challenge with people we don't normally work with, being Dude Drop, I guess, and Nikki ASH. That's the only two I could think. I don't know why they would say that about Becky.
You know what?
And they
That's
didn't
also
say
where
that.
I have to disagree a little bit.
Just hold on.
I think.
Just let me finish my thought here.
I'm going to circle back to that.
From WWE's perspective, they are saying that it's not true. But if they say that, then that says, okay, they did something unprofessional, and they cannot turn around and use that as an excuse necessarily should it end up in any sort of situation where there's legal things happening down the road. I also know that both Naomi and Sasha are close to the time when they need to renegotiate a new contract. And so part of what they may have been offered recently may have been insulting to them. I don't know. That could be part of this. And then from WWE's perspective, like I said, they put Sasha Banks in a premier spot, #1 in the Royal Rumble, knowing that she had an injury and couldn't last long, but wanted to feature her. And she lasted 10 minutes, got eliminated, barely did that much, but they featured her at the #1 spot. They didn't feel confident based on her injury situation that they could have her as the pegged main eventer to take on the SmackDown Women's Champion at WrestleMania, but it turned out she was healthy enough. So they put together this 8-woman tag match all of a sudden, and they become the tag champions, and it gives Sasha Banks her long-awaited WrestleMania win, and it gives them the tag titles tag titles we all know that the owner of WWE himself doesn't care about, and we can see that clearly in the fact that they were trying to do the booking that we've heard they've been trying to do, if that is true. If they were going to put them in title matches and just throw the tag titles on the back burner, then they might as well not have tag titles. It's like they use the tag titles as stepping stones to say, okay, now they're big enough to be in the main event, when quite frankly, Sasha Banks was big enough to be in the main event before that. And Naomi was too. She proved that in the match she had with Charlotte Flair on SmackDown back in January that all of us talk about all the way back to this day. We still talk about that being one of the best ladies matches of the year on TV. Now, the other thing WWE can say is that now we're giving you your title shot, blah, 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 blah. I call bullshit on all that, because I see it more as WWE trying to hotshot different things real quickly. It's not a long-term plan they had. They didn't have this long-term plan to have Sasha Banks and Naomi build themselves up with the tag titles and then go after the separate titles on different brands that make no fucking sense because they're both fucking baby faces. And why the hell would Naomi want to feud with Bianca Belair? Why the hell would you want to do it cross-brand? Like, I understand the tag champions float with the women's, but still, you have Naomi supposedly winning this match. It doesn't make any fucking sense. And so to me, what they're doing, and the reason why they should be upset with creative, and why I agree with you on that front, is because from WWE's perspective, like I said, all those things are what WWE thinks. But what they don't realize is that on the other side of the coin, they're basically just hot-shotting different things so they can bring up their ratings from week to week based on what happened last week. Their SmackDown ratings, I've checked it out, their ratings have gone down a little bit. So they want to elevate Sasha and Naomi and say, the hell with your tag championships. Nobody cares about those. We're going to put you in these two bigger matches because you're SmackDown stars, and it's going to draw more attention to SmackDown because we can get Belair over there and we can get you feuding with Rousey. And they didn't want to do that at this time. It's not like they didn't want to be in a title picture. They just had been in a storyline with the fucking tag belts, and they wanted to continue that. They also wanted to work with Doudrop and Nikki ASH and wanted to be a part of their character transformation and wanted to continue building the tag titles up and make them something important. And, it's always the fucking tag titles. Something always goes wrong when Sasha Banks is the tag champion. Something went wrong when she was with Bayley. I mean, there's always something fucking wrong. You know what I'm saying? And,
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I'm being an employer, okay, and just being who I am, I don't agree with walking out on the job. However, if you feel that that's the only statement you can make and you want to have that opinion, that's fine. I have no disagreement with that whatsoever because I wasn't fucking there. I don't know what the hell happened. And I can't say one way or the other whether somebody offered them some lowball contract and then said, get out there and work with these 6 ladies all of a sudden for no reason. I mean, the 6-pack challenge itself was a dumb idea. And that's why it was actually
Stupid.
a smart fucking thing for Becky Lynch to say, this can't happen. But so them throwing them under the bus all night, them saying they're unprofessional, is basically them covering their fucking ass all night long. And, to the, just to the diminishment of their stars. And Sasha Banks is one of their biggest stars. She's probably the most transcendent lady star they have. She's all over Nickelodeon. She's on The Mandalorian. And the thing I fear here, regardless of, whether you want to say people should stand up for themselves and all these other things, the WWE is paying both of these ladies a lot of money. And Naomi doesn't necessarily have all of the options that Sasha Banks has at her disposal outside of WWE. I mean, I'm not trying to knock on Naomi. I think she's a fantastic in-ring performer. She's one of my favorite female wrestlers there is. I can't say enough good things about Naomi, but Sasha Banks has far more things to look forward to outside of WWE versus Naomi. And I would hate for Naomi
outside of professional wrestling.
Right.
I think
sure
within
she could,
professional
Naomi
wrestling,
could go to
Naomi could nail any promotion.
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But even at professional wrestling, I think the better in-ring worker is probably Sasha Banks. Now, I've had people on Twitter DM me getting an argument saying Sasha Banks isn't as good as people think. And, all this other that she's overrated and I don't understand this and she's not entitled to all this shit. And there is that feeling backstage, like between other superstars and with some fans, that she's a little entitled and a little bit difficult to deal with. And possibly this difficulty to deal with, this baggage or whatever that she has, permeated to Naomi and negatively affected her. Again, I'm just laying things out there that we know there's so many different things that you hear and so many different things that actually could be true and aren't true and might affect it, might not affect it. I have no idea. I've met a lot of different wrestlers. I have not met Sasha Banks. Okay, and even if I did, it would be in some setting where she wasn't being, her shoot self with me anyway. So it doesn't even matter. I have no idea what is going on with Naomi. I know Naomi's husband happens to work there. I don't know what the fuck, after she left, what'd she do? Leave Jimmy at the arena? What happened? I know they travel together, but that sucks. That's a whole fucking another layer to it. And it's just all, now the work part of it, absolutely not. I've heard that too. I've heard people talk about it being a work and maybe this is a way to get Naomi to turn bad and join the blood. No, I don't think that this is a work. And I'm not trying to be dismissive and disrespectful to anybody who thinks that. If it,
Right.
because it's happened before, there's been, there's still people who believe that the screw job is a big work. And
Right.
eventually this, whether it is a shoot or work, say it is a shoot, they could use it as storyline. Absolutely. They do that shit all the time. They use real life in their storylines. But I just think that, those things, I think with creative, this is Vince trying to hotshot different things with his using his stars to get ratings, and he shouldn't be worried about the fucking, I'll say this, the ratings would be good if you just focused on long-term booking and had long-term good stories with everybody, big star, small star, medium star, whatever star, superstar, shooting star, I don't give a fuck star, all starfish, all these people could have different roles that actually continue and go throughout every single show. And you don't have to do this with people and hotshot different things to gain ratings. You'll gain the ratings from having the good stories from week to week, and everybody will get a piece. Instead of being like, holy shit, our ratings are going down, let's grab star X and throw her in this feud that makes no sense. And Sasha Banks, being somebody who gives a damn about her career and gives a damn about what she's been doing and has put a lot into the tag titles. I've said this over and over again on the podcast. I like the way that they've been presenting themselves as the tag champions. You know what I'm saying? You've heard me say that so many times. And so I don't appreciate the fact that Vince doesn't give a fuck about tag wrestling. I can tell you that. He obviously doesn't, because they only have 5 men's tag teams in the whole fucking roster. They don't even have, they've had Los Lotharios going over to Raw to face people. They had the Street Profits on main event the other night. But I'm digressing there. We're still on Sasha Banks and Naomi. I didn't let you finish what you were thinking there. Just wanted to address the creative part of it and the fact that I think that, from WWE side, they think that they're covering their ass and that they've done enough for Sasha and Naomi. And maybe they have. But in my opinion, the fact that there's no story involved in all this shit, and then they go to it and it doesn't make sense, and we'll get into where it ended up, which still doesn't make any sense. But you go ahead and pick up where you left off if you can there.
Yeah, I don't remember where I left off. That was 10 minutes ago. But what I want to say is that, when you mentioned that they were unhappy or unwilling to work with 2 other women that were in the 6 women match, but
and that's not true.
Name who they are, right? They don't name any names, but that's what WWE said, right?
WWE said words. That, and then a backstage source said that that's not true.
Okay. Well, even if they did say that, even if there was a little bit of disagreement between the women, I don't think it would have been with working with Doudrop and Ash. I think that Sasha and Naomi were happy to work with another tag team because they want to push the tag team division. They want to build tag teams up. So I'm sure they were excited to work with Doudrop and Ash. And then when creative said, yeah, we're going to mix in Becky and Asuka, I think that's when they were like, why would you mix in Becky and Asuka? They're feuding over Bianca's title right now. Why do we need to get in a situation with them? And I don't think even if that statement is slightly true, I don't think it has anything to do with actually working in the ring with any of these 4 women, because they've worked with all 4 women, and all 4 women are actually pretty good at their job. Outside of Nikki Ash being terrible at her character, she's not terrible in the ring. So I don't believe that either. Just everything that WWE is saying, I don't believe. And I don't think they're trying to pull one over on us by saying all this stuff for a storyline, because like I said before, I don't think anybody that's involved would allow this to happen. I don't think they would allow the defamation of character just to advance a storyline. Anybody that thinks that Naomi is okay with all of this just so she can split up with Sasha and end up with the bloodline in the end, there are way, way, way better, more respectful, and more creative ways to do that. Okay. And even if you're not more creative, I don't even care if out of nowhere at the end of a match that Sasha and Naomi loses, Sasha gives Naomi the backstabber and then they split up. It's as simple as that. You don't have to destroy people's personal characters and get them involved with the single women's championships feuds. There's no reason to do that. And if you're trying to bring more ratings to SmackDown, you already have Sasha Banks. What more do you need, SmackDown? You have arguably the most popular woman in your company, WWE, being Sasha Banks on your program. You arguably have, not even arguably, but undeniably the most popular male star in Roman Reigns on your program. What the fuck more do you need on SmackDown to get ratings? If you can't get ratings with this talent, it has nothing to do with the talent.
They got RK Bro over there too.
Creative.
You know, they
Exactly.
got RK Bro going over there.
Well, they got everybody over there because they're just moving them from show to show. There is no brand split anymore. It makes no difference. They showed Los Lotharios, like you said, and they gave them a Raw branding. They didn't even say Los Lotharios from SmackDown. No, they said Raw's Los Lotharios. What the hell is that?
You know damn well NBC, Universal, USA, whatever the hell it is, ain't going to have them advertising Fox on their show too many times anyway. and the other way around. And that's the whole problem.
It's just a big old
that
mess
hampers the creative with them too, is having two different networks, wanting two different things, two different groups of stars. Then you try to please both and have your fucking tag champs all over the place fighting for both titles for no fucking reason.
It's a mess.
When the Raw women's title picture's right there in front of you, the story's ready made for you. You have Becky Lynch on a redemption attempt and Asuka trying to get in the way. You make it a triple threat. Bang. Who the hell cares? That's a good match. I don't care what if you think it's a low profile or a high profile pay-per-view. You do that and then you move on. You keep going with your tag division. You don't just make it, you don't put it on the back burner after you've made your superstars or your wrestlers, whatever you want. I'm sitting here acting like I'm the Miz talking like this, but you just have
you
to
stooge, you WWE stooge.
Right now, and let me ask you this, man. So we all can have we all have different opinions and feelings on it, and I think at the end of the day, my opinion is I don't want to see Sasha Banks leave the WWE, and I don't want to see Naomi either.
No, I love them both.
I don't think we should speculate on what's going to happen, whether they're going to be suspended or fined, whatever. I think that's up to whatever happens. But I do think that we should sort of think about this for a second. They tried to hotshot them into a sudden title feud and have Naomi go over in this match. I think there was a point in the match where they were supposed to have to interact in a forceful way where they had to fight each other. I know that Naomi was not going to pin. She was going to pin Nikki ASH. That was going to be the finish. There wasn't going to be much involvement with Doudrop. I just feel like, you have a 6-person match. There was no referee assigned to it or agent up at the time of the show when I got my copy of the run sheet. Different people get different copies. Different sites get different copies.
No producer, right?
Yeah, no producer, no referee. So that's a little bit weird. Evidently, Molly Holly was instrumental in the relaying of the messages between McMahon and Sasha Banks as far as her displeasure with everything. And the other thing is that I'll call total bullshit on is the fact that their statement said whatever it said about they had 8 hours to work on their match. There's no way in hell anybody had 8 hours during any day in a ring by themselves with however many people for one match. That Omos cage match, we don't need to practice that one. But, we don't need to practice any, give me a break. Okay.
You couldn't get all 6 women in the same building for 8 hours.
Right. It's just.
Get out of here with that.
That's not. So the statement was just, and just the fact that they issued that statement alone is a big deal to me. I don't care what it says. The fact that they felt the need to put that statement out, like It has to be. We're gonna find something out. Like, there's probably something that just came out while we're doing this, and we don't even know. But
Yeah.
so we'll probably be doing another show tomorrow about it. Emergency
Yeah.
news drop. But anyway, I just think that with them hot shot in this feud, let's just say it happened. Let's say they never walked out. You got Naomi facing Belair and Sasha facing Rousey, apparently on the other side.
Mhm.
What do you think happens with that? Do you think that's good for them, bad for them? How do you see that playing out if that were to have happened?
I don't see how it's good in any way. Like I don't understand how you take your women's tag team championships and then have them go lose single matches. That makes no sense. The only reason you pull them out of a tag team to do single matches is if you plan on them winning. Now, that being said, what if they win? Why would you pull the belt off of Banks and give it to Naomi right now? Why would you do I'm sorry, not Banks. I'm sorry, Belair is what I meant to say. Why would you pull the belt off Belair right now and give it to Naomi when Belair is super red hot as a baby face with that belt? And you have barely any baby faces that are great in the company right now. So you have to keep it on her. Now, Ronda, her title can come and go, I think, because she's not going to be here for a long time. But that being said, you give the belt to Sasha, then who else is she going to face? She's going to run out of baby faces to face. I don't understand why you would want either of them to win the single women's title on Raw or SmackDown. So I see it as a lose-lose if you have those matches. I don't see how it builds Sasha's character or Naomi's character, and I don't see how it builds Belair's character or Ronda's character. So I just see it as a lose-lose. And just going back real quick about the 8 women's tag team match that we saw at WrestleMania, that was a lot. That was a great example of how awesome these women are when they have chances to work and to do their thing. Okay. Now that was given to them as a bonus. Bullshit. Look, instead, why don't you build the division? Why don't you actually have storylines involving these 8 women and not just throw them into one single match where they, all fight for the title at one time and then we never hear about it again? That's dumb. There's zero storylines going on in the tag team feuds right now. And Sasha and Naomi were trying to get it going and they were shut down by creative. I don't like it. As Jim Ross once said, I don't like it one bit.
Yeah, I know. I mean, the one thing I'll say about this, too, on the side of sort of riding the fence here, is that a lot of fans like to side with the wrestler first, and we don't know what the hell is going on behind the scenes. We don't know the baggage the wrestler has, the situation, what happened. We only know they walked out of the show and they were upset with the creative. WWE issued a statement that we all probably think they probably shouldn't have. But if you side with the wrestlers themselves in an isolated incident, and then you find out backstage that the other wrestlers actually are kind of rolling their eyes at the situation and thinking, oh, here we go again with Sasha Banks or whatever. I don't know. Maybe they're thinking that there are some reports of people sort of having that reaction. And so if you're for one wrestler, you could be alienating another group of them where you're always trying to be pro wrestler no matter what as a fan. But if you, in a vacuum, only side with one wrestler in a situation, then you're actually siding against the wrestlers as a whole. And so that's why I think it's so important for us all to know exactly what the hell really happened and what the result of all this really is before we all make some really big knee-jerk reactions and statements and things like that about it. I do think it's a thing that really fucked up, and I think that it needs to be brought to light what's going on. I don't give a fuck. I think we can all see what some of it, most of it's all about. But then again, we don't know the 100% truth of all of it. We probably never will, but we'll know something at least more concrete than what we know. But right now, Meltzer's not giving us anything great. Sap's not giving us anything, fantastic other than, some of the things I've already mentioned about backstage people saying this or that. The other thing, the stuff about the referees and things. So we're just not getting that much. And then we're getting a complete total washer machine regurgitation of it from BW Insider and RSN. So, and not that that's bad. They're reporting what they know, and that's good. But we don't know anything else, so it's hard to form a complete opinion about it. But it definitely sucks that it happened and that it's happening for Sasha Banks and Naomi. And I don't really know where they go from here, man. Where do they go if they leave here?
I don't know. I've only got one more thing to say about this whole situation, and then this might be perspective that not everybody shares, but I want to make sure that I get it on the air, and hopefully people can think about it this way. But a lot of people look at this action as an unprofessional thing because yes, they walked out on the job, and yes, it hurts the other talent because they're not there to work with them, right? But from my perspective, I disagree. Their actions, in my opinion, was in support of the rest of the talent because the rest of the talent has to deal with shitty creative all the time. And Sasha and Naomi were the first ones, not the first, but the most recent ones to put their foot down and say no. And so I view their actions from my perspective as actually supporting their fellow talent. I know not everybody shares that perspective, but that is my personal perspective. This is the last thing I want to say about this whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen Mustafa Ali do these types of things. We've seen him, have the different protests he's had. We've seen a lot of different people, and maybe it takes a high-profile star like Sasha or a high-profile duo like Sasha and Naomi to make a difference or to stand up. That's a good point by you that they're standing up for the locker room, not alienating them. But at the end of the day, I guess there's two sides to every story. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not taking WWE's side in this. I'm just trying to counterpoint with you. That's all.
It's just easy to see their side because they laid it all out publicly for everybody to see. In fact, like you're talking about Sean Ross Sapp, right? He says that he got that report from WWE without asking for it. He literally did not ask for it, and they sent it to him. What the hell is that?
Well, yeah, the statement they sent to they emailed everybody on their email list. They emailed me and emailed
they didn't even ask.
Fans
they just sent it
just because they wanted to cover their ass about the main event, which they didn't. And that wasn't an advertised main event, and it was a stupid main event, man. And let's move on to our wrestling events that happened this week. Like we said, let's
get to the good stuff.
Yeah, let's all hope that whatever happens with Sasha and Naomi is positive for the both of them. Whatever happens, it's what they want and what is good for their long term, their lives, and all that. And that whatever is going on backstage in WWE stops because it's just a storm of shit now that any WWE detractors can now come out of the woodwork and talk all kinds of shit on the way they treat their wrestlers, their superstars. And, it's just this kind of negative energy, negative shit is just not good. So whatever it is that's causing it, I hope it goes away. And, I hope it gets resolved, and I hope that we get answers, and I hope we see Sasha and Naomi back as soon as possible, but I can only hope. So let's move on. We got SmackDown last week. I was there. A lot of people have heard my story. I'm not going to talk too much.
Yeah, that must have been great.
Yeah, it was fun, man. It was a great time being there. But I'll tell you what, that RK Bro, they are like a freaking rock concert, the way they get the crowd amped. I mean, I have not seen pops like this, sustained pops, and pops that happen multiple times when they come out at the beginning of the show, at the end of the show. It's one thing to get that one big baby face pop at the beginning. Even Ronda Rousey gets that big pop if she comes out to save Aaliyah from Charlotte Flair. But RK Bro gets the pop that is deafening to start the show, and then totally freaking eats your ears out at the end of the show too. Plus, you had that great moment of Riddle hitting that knee and then them rolling out of the ring, which to me is a little bit of a heel move there. but I understand why they did it. It made sense, and it was a hell of a fucking moment. What did you think about SmackDown though overall, buddy?
Well, it was actually a really good episode because I feel a lot of storylines are moving. Anytime you can get storylines and characters moving forward, I'm usually more into this show. And if you give me good matches on top of it, then I'm really into it. And both SmackDown and Raw over the past week have given me both things. Yeah, there's some low lights too. There's some rough spots, but that's okay. This is a not everything is perfect. I don't think any wrestling promotion is perfect. But yeah, SmackDown was great. Who would have thought that RK Bro as a combo would have went over so well, right? Nobody saw this coming. I mean, obviously Randy has had his support because he's been around such a long time and he's a professional, he's a veteran. So he's got that naturally built in, but I did not expect Riddle to actually get the support that he's been getting from fans as well. Even on Raw, when he came out by himself, he still got a really nice reception by the crowd without Randy by his side. So yeah, I'm quite surprised, and I'm quite happy to see how well the team is going over the audience right now, or going over the crowd. I'm loving it.
Yeah, they tested that out a lot at the house shows earlier in the winter, having Riddle go singles when they didn't have the titles, or they won them back, and they
Mhm.
tested out how he would be received and stuff. Like evidently they liked, and that people like him, man. And it's interesting because you know WWE with certain things, certain storylines, you think, well, maybe they know we remember that X, Y, and Z happened, so they won't do this. But Riddle went from getting totally manhandled by Omos almost every week to people forgetting about that and now thinking he's a legitimate top star of the company, you know? And we
Yep.
didn't remember that. So some
His
of the
singles push is coming for sure.
yeah. And I think that knee to the face to Roman means
Yeah.
something. What do you think it means long term as far as he and Roman or Orton and Roman or the both of them and Roman? And honestly, man, what do you feel about him and Orton's relationship here? We have seen really Riddle do pretty much. I mean, obviously, Orton's been around forever. The way the tag team's going to work is just going to be Riddle doing a lot of the heavy lifting and hot tagging to Orton, and Orton, running wild, finishing everybody off. But even in the
Mhm.
singles matches, it's always Riddle. It's Orton's like, okay, we'll do that, but you got to beat Riddle first.
Right.
And and instead, it's like never him. That's the one. And then Riddle also hit the knee on Roman Reigns. He has taken the pin from Roman Reigns in that 6-man match. He's taken a lot of pins in non-title tag matches for them. Now, in the match they lost to Alpha Academy, Orton put over Otis with the World's Strongest Slam, and he took the pin. Riddle was being held back at ringside, but more often than not, we're seeing Riddle get his ass kicked, doing everything for the team. Couple weeks ago, we saw him wipe out Orton with the senton accidentally. I'm making air quotes right now, but you can't see him. So,
Yeah. Accidentally. I thought maybe that was a build to something, but really it was just kind of brushed over.
right. But could there be Easter eggs being planted here? Could there be a turn coming sooner rather than later for RK Bro? Who do you see
Mhm.
being the heel? And do you think that either one of them will get their shot at Roman Reigns' title, one of them or the other, or both titles, that is, because he's holding two titles and not defending either. And you know, where do you see RK Pro going? We're getting a tag unification match on TV this week. I see that ending in a fuck finish and then it getting pushed to the pay-per-view. But before we get into the tag unification situation, where do you see RK Bro, particularly Orton and Riddle individually, and their future with Reigns?
You know, this is interesting because it actually does tie into the unification match. I strongly believe that actually the Usos are going to win that unification match. And I think they're going to take the titles off of RK Bro.
On TV?
And I think, yeah, I know it sounds crazy, right? It sounds absolutely nuts. I know. Well, let me just talk this one out here for you. So this is where you can get that extra push, the extra heat that you need to give Randy and Riddle the oomph to split up, but not have to hate each other. I mean, everybody thinks that when they split up, one of them's going to turn heel, and that's pretty typical. I understand why you'd think that. Why else would they split up? Because one person starts hating the other, or one person turns evil and the other person's still good. So I understand that way. But once you strip the tag titles off of Randy and off of Riddle, then you can free them both up to have singles competitions, but still act like friends and still be, in essence, a team. You can have Randy go after Roman at that point and try to take one of those belts off of him. And I've been saying for a long time, I've told you months ago that I think what we need is a Randy Orton Roman feud. We need those two to fight each other because Randy's your hottest babyface right now. I know Drew McIntyre's on SmackDown and Randy is on Raw, but that doesn't matter anymore because everything they've done so far, they've said, damn it, I'll be damned, there is no brand split. So I don't even think you have to worry about Raw and SmackDown talent anymore. Now you can just line up your faces and your heels. And there's only one face that's as big as Roman right now, and that's Randy. And I think those two need to feud it out while Randy is this hot. And that doesn't necessarily mean that Riddle and Randy have to break up or hate each other. Riddle can stand on the side of the ring, and the Usos can stand on the other side of the ring, and Roman and Randy can have a hell of a match. I think so many people would be down for that match. And Randy could easily take that WWE championship off of Roman. Then, once Randy has that title to himself, the WWE championship, then you can start having those little seeds of dissension between Riddle and Randy, and Riddle will start to get jealous of Randy's success individually. Then they can start feuding with each other and split up, and then Riddle can go after Randy's title. Because I think when you're trying to push Randy and Riddle separately, you obviously can't have the tag titles on them, so there's be no reason for them to be the unified champions. So I think those titles need to be taken off them. Now I know you're surprised because you're thinking that would not happen on a Friday night SmackDown, such a big title movement. But I don't see the title unification as being the big part of the storyline. I think what happens after that would be even bigger. And then that's why a fight between Roman and Randy would be on the pay-per-view or the premium live event that's coming up. Could be any of them, really. It could be the one out in Clash at the Castle. It could be that far out. Could be even SummerSlam, something like that. They could build it that far out. Heck, with the way Randy works, he only does like one match a month. So he probably will have 2 matches and then a PLE 3 months from now. Who knows? That's my crazy storyline. And I think that's how I'd like to see them split those two people up, by taking the titles off of them, giving them to the Usos, letting the bloodline be awesome and having all the titles. Now, the other little part of this is Sami Zayn, right? Now he's introduced to this storyline between RK Bro and the bloodline. And so when Randy and Roman are fighting individually, you could also have Riddle and Sammy having a feud of their own for a month or two. So I think once you take those tag titles off of RK Bro, it'll actually open up more storyline possibilities. That's what I think. That's a really long explanation.
No, that's fine. It makes sense. I think that we on SmackDown probably aren't going to see a clean finish. Now, whether or not a team wins or not, if a team wins, it's going to be the Usos. And I think it'll be by some sort of Sami Zayn involvement or Roman Reigns involvement. And then we'll get a rematch at the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. if there's a disqualification, which is honestly what I see happening more likely than anything else. We'll see a hell of a match. We'll get the match, but I don't know what we'll get the result that we want. Then we'll get to see the match again at the pay-per-view. I mean, it has to be a pay-per-view match. They can't just finish this and be done with it on television on Fox unless they do it without commercials and it's a 35-minute, it's a series, it's a big deal. You have the Usos with over 300 days holding their titles. You have RK Bro in there. And now for the future with them, I see Riddle turning on Randy at some point, for the reasons that I've stated. He's always the one doing this and he's, always the one doing that. And Randy Orton's finally, broken past that sort of dickish, prick character that he used to be that turned on everybody. And I think Riddle's going to do it and say, ha, I did to you what you've done to everybody your whole career. I've been carrying this team, blah, blah, blah. But before that, I think we will see an Orton Reigns feud, and it'll involve Riddle as well. And they may be in a triple threat. And maybe that's how they end up getting one of the belts off of Reigns. They have Orton pin Riddle, take the WWE title off of him, and then Orton is your WWE champion, and Riddle's pissed at him, and he feuds with him. Who knows? But yeah, RK Bro totally over. They were more over than Reigns was at this show, man. Usually Reigns,
That's crazy.
yeah, usually Reigns and the Bloodline are just take over the show, even though they're heels. And for whatever reason, people did not want to do that. And you heard me talking about the in-crowd plants and things like that. The in-crowd plants had no influence over anybody with the RK Bro stuff. I mean, you could not control. My son and I couldn't hear each other talking to each other. It was crazy.
Did they have much influence for other chants? Like, I know you said they were getting chants started, but like, was it effective?
The Rusty chant that was started by the plants. They tried to get New Day Rocks going and couldn't. They got a Kofi chant going, but I don't know if anybody heard it. The Randy chants were started by plants, but
okay, so some successful, some not.
Yeah. But you should have heard them. They were just so hell bent on getting New Day, some nice baby face stuff going. They were like, as soon as Woods gets on the trombone, make sure we're real loud. You heard what they told us. They want New Day to get a big pop here. I'm like, what the hell?
Why do you think that is? Why do you think WWE, like, I know they're good with kids and whatnot, but if they're already good with kids, then why do they have to get the audience to participate with chants for New Day so much? If you ask me, I think New Day's actually pretty over. And I think they're so over that people are starting to get sick of them.
I look at it as, let's say it's Family Matters or Step, what the fuck are the Step House, Full House, Step by Step,
Full House, Step by Step. Yeah, all that stuff. Family Matters.
It reminds me of that, where they're filming a television show.
Step by step, day by day. Sorry.
And you got the damn saxophone going and all them early 90s shit. So they're doing a thing where it's almost like that, where, in those shows, they have a light that goes off that says when people should laugh and when people should applaud and all that. And it's almost like they're trying to do that.
Laugh track.
To sweeten their TV show. And it's just a little bit. And I guess they're doing that for the people who don't know New Day's over that tune in. I don't know. I don't get it. I mean, you would think that commentary alone could that one off, say these are the good guys, and just their presentation, people can tell they're goofy and they're into all the, little kids are you don't need to hear any, but I guess they want to get the whole everything put together. There's little things that Vince and other people in WWE get hung up on that really don't matter, and that's probably one of them. The crowd cheering.
It's just a little sad, really, because what you're doing in the ring should be making those emotions. Like if you want a certain reaction from the crowd, then do something in the ring to gain that reaction. If people aren't cheering for New Day, guess what? It's because they don't want to cheer for New Day. Why don't you make New Day do something new? They're not the New Day. They're the old day. They're the old century. They've been doing the same damn thing for 8 years. When have you seen New Day do anything different today than they haven't done in the last 6 to 7 years? Nothing.
But speaking of people who do create an emotional reaction in the ring, we had Butch getting his first match. People, I think,
Butch
really liked his in-ring work. I did myself. He finally got some time. Hit his finisher at the end, and Raquel got a good, 7 to 8 minute match with Rousey. Rousey let her get some offense in before Hurricane running her into a roll-up. How do you feel about the performance of Butch and Raquel, and moving forward, where do you see them? Do you see good or bad things for either one?
I love both of them. I've said before, I love Butch's style. I love this just slow punishing, I can never remember the term. What is it again?
A bruiser?
No, when he picks a part of the body and
joint manipulation.
Thank you. Joint manipulation. Why can't I never remember that? I love his joint manipulation. And like, he makes it look so real when he's pulling somebody's hand backwards, or he's cranking on their shoulder or their arm. Butch sells really well too. And he looks solid with all of his moves. I don't think he's sloppy in any way. I love watching him wrestle. And I'm loving Raquel Rodriguez too. She looks super powerful in that match with Rousey. I think that both of those matches were produced very well. I think that when you had Butch trying to fight back, and then behind him is Fight Night on the outside of the ring, and they're like cheering him on, and they're going Fight Night, and they're getting their own chant going, and Butch is getting all fired up, and he does his finisher, by the way, is fantastic. What did they call it? Now I got to look it up. His finisher is the bitter end. Butch's finisher, the bitter end, was really good. And I know that he hit it after using a distraction from Sheamus and Ridge, but that is a devastating move. And I don't think anybody should be getting up from the bitter end. That's an awesome finisher. And then I thought it was funny too that after the win, Butch still ran away through the audience. And from what I heard, he actually ran right by you, and your son got a chance to touch his sweaty elbow or something like that. Is that true?
Yeah, Butch exited the crowd through the aisle right by my row in my section, and my son was able to touch him, and that was pretty cool. Everybody was going, everybody really liked Butch. Everybody liked Raquel too.
Yeah, and I think that match between Butch and Kofi was actually pretty good. Kofi had a really nice SOS flip in it. They're both athletic, so they both did a good job. But then they also put in some really good strikes. I was appreciating their punches and kicks. I don't know if they were stiff or not, but they were selling them really well. There's one thing I have to point out I didn't like in the match, but I'm going to point that out later when we get to our awards. So everybody listen in for that one. But the match with Ronda Rousey and Raquel Rodriguez, RR versus RR, they had an excellent match as well. Great psychology. I liked that Raquel was tossing Ronda around like a rag doll. She showed so much power in this match. It was awesome. And as she's flipping her around, she's putting her in these submissions, and Ronda's, getting out of the submissions in whatever way she can. She was struggling during the whole match to find a way to beat Raquel. And that's why I liked the ending too. I thought the ending was smart because Ronda had to use a roll up in this case. And this is when a roll up works, is because Ronda knew that Raquel is, too big for her to beat with strikes. She's too strong to submit. So the only way that she could figure out a win was to beat her wisely with a roll up, a well-timed roll up. It was awesome. And then they shook hands afterwards. There was some great respect between them. And that's just to keep Raquel looking like a baby face. It is weird to have two baby faces fighting each other because you never know who to root for. But in this case, it actually works because Raquel is so new and so fresh that she's going to have people supporting her anyways, just because they want to see her do well. They want to see her succeed. But of course, they don't want her to be the new champion Ronda either. So I think that how was the audience's reaction during this match? Was it pretty 50-50 between the two of them?
Yeah, they were more for Rousey. They popped for Rousey winning. They were sort of sitting on their hands, but impressed by Raquel, as I was, as I think anybody should. She had a good match, good showing there. She was manhandling Rousey throughout that match. But people popped for the handshake too, because they were a little bit confused. You know, I think some people were like, who is this woman? Jesus Christ, she's big as hell compared to Ronda.
She's a monster.
And then she showed that in the ring. Ronda ended up winning. And then the handshake, you know, just is something I think that the general population, when they see that, you know, they get a positive reaction to it. So they liked it. People liked Ronda, I think, that night. Not really so much for the promo, but she did get a decent pop coming out. And she wasn't the first out, you know. So, and she didn't have an advertised match, so we knew it was a promo that may or may not lead to something. So, you know, based on everything going before she became champion, it was like night and day, the difference. I felt that the crowd responded to Ronda as the babyface champion and not the babyface chasing Charlotte, seemingly completely disinterested in it. But that's pretty much all we're gonna do as far as SmackDown. I think we covered everything there.
I like the way that the story basically right now is Ronda defending as an open challenge. I think that fits her character perfectly. I just want to say that, like, she doesn't need the promo. She doesn't need to go out there and talk a bunch. She just needs to go out there and say, look, I'm a badass. I'm the baddest woman. If anybody wants to change my mind, come out here and fight me. Oh my God, I said that so much better than Ronda. But anyways,
right. And now that
this is perfect for her.
So then they want Sasha Banks to be how about Shayna Baszler be her opponent, seeing as though, number one, they have good chemistry together and she's a fucking heel instead of a baby.
Why not? That would be awesome.
I just don't get, sometimes it's like right there, and you know, are they saving it for something else? You know, that's why I always say let things play out, because eventually we do see the things happen that we want. But I don't know. Now, as far as the open challenge thing, that's definitely something that fits her character and something I like. Defend it on TV every week if you got to do it. It looks like Shotzi and Aaliyah are saying that they were trying to get to be the ones who responded to this open challenge, but one of them got locked in the bathroom or whatever, and the other one got shoved out of the way, which kind of makes Raquel sound like a bitch for pushing him out of the way to take the match, but and locking him in the bath or whatever the hell happened. But
that was just all a work.
Yeah. But so we're gonna see one of the two of them face them next week. Maybe it'll be a triple
do you think
threat.
They'll actually have Shotzi and Aaliyah have a match together first, and then the winner gets to fight Ronda, something like that?
If they do that, they should do it in the same night. Then they should have Shotzi go over because she's a heel, and then, you know, if they're like, oh, this week face for the number one contenders, and it feels counterproductive to the open challenge thing to make.
No, you're right about that.
You know, so it's like, okay, I'll take on all comers. I'll take on two at once. You know, one of you can take my.
I just for some reason foresee a match between them. I don't know why.
I do too, because you got a baby face and a heel, bottom of the roster. Who knows? But you know, and I'm gonna say this about back to the Raw, because we're about to get into Raw here. I feel bad for Doudrop and Nikki ASH and all this getting
100%.
You know, because the statement implied basically that Naomi and Sasha didn't feel comfortable with them, I think, and that's bullshit. And they are trying to make something happen, and they were in a main event and then totally wiped out of it. Now I understand having people walk out during a live television show. You got to pivot. You got to do something. Becky and Asuka have been working together at house shows, so that's an easy match they can throw in there. I think, there's other storyline that obviously they're going with now is Asuka going for the title, but Asuka's a baby face, if you can call her. I mean, she's a baby face, but Jesus Christ, I mean, her character is very hard to get behind.
Yeah.
I've said this several times. Why can't she speak she knows how to speak English. So why can't creative allow her to just speak English? She can speak the broken English, but it doesn't have to be like a mockery of the Japanese speaking dialect. And that's what it feels like. And just her mannerisms and the cosplay. I understand her character, but she's a badass, man. She's Asuka lock you up. I make you submit. I spit poison in your face, And so anyway, they have her winning, going over Becky. The finish, actually, the sequence of the finish, the timing of it was actually great. I thought the way that they sort of worked the count out angle a little bit, and the possible Belair DQing and having Becky winning. Belair didn't touch Becky. Becky throws Asuka into her. Looks like Asuka's about to get counted out. Becky goes for the umbrella, which for whatever reason was at ringside and didn't get tossed at the ramp like it usually does. I think, doesn't she usually toss that umbrella at the top of the ramp, or is that Xia Li?
I don't remember, to be honest.
Okay, well, I'm, going down.
Plus, I never can see what happens after gear is disrobed. Sometimes they keep it ringside. Sometimes they get it out of the way. Sometimes it's left on the apron. Who knows?
Yeah, but regardless, she goes for the umbrella, goes for an attack. Just as she does this, Asuka does get back into the ring as the referee was getting close to 10, and she surprises Becky with some poison mist. That was some serious poison mist because it dropped Becky directly to her feet, paralyzed the hell out of her. Asuka wins 1, 2, 3, and gets the Hell in a Cell match against Belair. However, not really a clean victory. Becky still has a legitimate claim that she should be involved here. Whether or not she actually is on the card to be involved, I think she will be involved some way, interfering in this match if it's a singles match. Maybe not. Maybe she'll just continue to be bothering them. I'm not actually sure where they're going to go with it, but it feels like it should be a triple threat. It feels like Becky, but they could also play it as, Becky, you're crazy. You're going out of control and you lost. End of story. Where do you see this? Do you see this feud going to a triple threat? Do you like where it's going? Again, we have a babyface Asuka and a babyface Belair. We're trying to build Belair as, our face of the company, Raw champion. Where do you think they're going here with the Hell in a Cell match and leading up to it and all that?
Well, they got to have this triple threat, because what else are they going to do with Bianca in the meantime? I mean, or Becky, once you leave somebody out, you leave somebody out, and they have no more feud to continue on. Becky is trying to work her way back up again. Her character hit rock bottom, and she's trying to rise back up from that. And, Asuka is stopping her from doing that, and she's kind of taking her spot. You have to have a 3-way match between the three of them. You have to, in my opinion. I think that's the only way you can resolve this whole issue. Because if you just have Asuka and Bianca go off and have their title match, then what the heck's Becky going to do? Wow, she's going to have to find somebody else to complain about or pick on or something like that. I think Becky needs to turn back into a face. And I think the best way to turn Becky back into a baby face is through Asuka, especially with the way Asuka's been acting recently. Plus, Asuka is just a natural heel. I think her character works better as a heel. I think that the fans want to support Becky. Why not flip it? Why not have Asuka do something really bad to Becky and get Asuka that heel heat? I don't know. That's just my opinion. I really don't know what else they can do here. I'm kind of at a loss for words as far as what else they can do with the story between these three women besides just putting the three of them in a ring and having them fight.
It feels like that's what they need to do, though, and they're doing everything they can to not make that happen, given the fact that they were going to do this six-pack challenge and have Naomi go over and, have Belair beat her in what is not a marquee pay-per-view and just be basically a jobber for Belair with no story to it, which was the issue that Banks and Naomi had with it in the first place. So let's just say, like I said, if it went that direction, then would it just be Becky and Asuka fighting each other? I don't understand where they're going with Becky here. Becky's somebody that feels like she's either getting ready to take some vacation time and they don't know what to do with her, or she's not doing any vacation time and they don't know what to do with her. I just don't get it as far as, I feel like she should have gotten the rematch at Backlash, certainly before Sonya Deville ever did. They didn't need to involve Sonya Deville in the title to strip her of her job. So there's a lot of things that just don't add up here, but we are getting Asuka. Becky's been working with her at the house. It makes sense for them to have Becky in the match. It would make Belair look even stronger to beat both of them. Having Becky turn face here, I don't know if she'll do it yet because they want to utilize Becky as a heel to build as many fucking faces as they can. I don't know that she's been that successful in completely putting over that many faces other than Belair, who quite frankly would have made it on her own. She's definitely improved Doudrop and Liv Morgan and people like that, and she's a ring general in there, and they need her in feuds. And I agree with you, Asuka's a natural heel. She's a heel character when she was a heel before, and was just like I told you, badass. I'll make you submit. Blah blah blah. That's all there is to it. I don't need to do all this stuff where I'm trying to be funny and mocking you with the boo-hoo, mommy. I don't, that doesn't resonate with me. And, but as far as this feud goes, I think Hell in a Cell will get the triple threat. And I think that's the way to go. If it goes any other way, I'll be surprised. But I think we'll see Belair go over there. I don't know what we'll see after that. I don't know they have lined up for Bianca, whether we have Lacey Evans coming in now, which we're going to pivot to next. We're going to pivot to Lacey real quick. She came out on Raw. She could be the next heel opponent for Belair down the road.
Terrible music, by the way. Terrible entrance music. Ugh.
Yeah, so we've seen a lot of these stories over the last month, with her tugging at her hearts. We've heard the reports of her actually supposed to be being heel. She's had the ring announcer introduce her both on SmackDown and on Raw. And she came out, cut a promo, and it was basically a babyface promo. Although, in my mind, I read between the lines a little bit when she was saying, how about you all get off your butts and blah, blah, blah. And how about we respect the military people because we are better than you. She said, they didn't say those exact words, but there was just the way, the tone in which she was saying what she was saying. I think that it's going to lead to her being like, you know what? The hell with all you people who haven't gone through what I've gone through. And that's going to be that. I don't think the babyface thing's going to stay. I also know that Norfolk, Virginia is a big military town, a big area where they base a lot of military people. There's a ton of military people in attendance that night, and I don't think that was the right place to swerve the whole fans like that. That would have been bad. But or maybe for the Heat it would have been good. I don't know. But I do know that about that. I think that maybe they wanted to get the big babyface reaction there, and that because the bigger babyface reaction you get, the bigger heel turn reaction you're going to get. But how do you feel about Lacey real quick as far as her presentation, where they're going to go with her?
Yeah, I'm like you. I'm reading between the lines. I feel like if you believe that she is a good person and she's trying to pull on your heartstrings, I feel like you're being way too gullible here. I think this is WWE. I mean, they've repeated this over and over and over and over and over and over again. And whenever WWE does this and they repeat something like this, it's because they're preparing you for a flip. They're getting you ready. They're trying to put you so far on one side that when they flip, it's going to mean something to you. So I mean, they're saying all this great babyface stuff, like being part of the military and having crappy parents and having to deal with drug abuse in her family and all this stuff to get you to go, oh, that's so sad, because they're gonna flip it on you guys. Just expect it. That's really all I have to say about this. Other than that, I'm like I said, her intro music is gross. I'm sorry, but it's like I feel like
Her gear sucks
it's
too.
like if yeah, the gear, like, and I think that's all purposeful. I think that stuff is it's kind of like a sign saying, look out, this person's going to be so annoying pretty soon. You're going to hate this person soon. And I think they're just taking baby steps because they don't know when the right time is to do it. But they belabor these things all the time because they like to play the long game sometimes with WWE, and they like to make you think something for such a long time. So then when they finally flip the script on you, it just is that much more significant. So this is a storyline that I hope you guys aren't being too gullible and getting behind her, because she's going to turn heel and you guys are going to hate her for it. I promise you, you're going to hate her for everything she's saying. Just get ready.
Yeah, and so if she is a heel, I think that she'd, probably be one of Bianca's next opponents coming up here. 'Cause I don't know who the hell else they have on the.
It fits.
Yeah, it fits there. Now, Raw open with the cage match. Very exciting to open with the cage match. We have Lashley and Omos. I think we were talking last week about maybe this will end in some sort of break the ring, break the cage finish. And lo and behold, how did it finish? Bobby Lashley got thrown through the freaking cage. Now,
right through it.
The one thing about that is the cage broke just so. Now, I was surprised Lashley would take a bump like that at this stage in his career.
That was a big bump.
At the same time, he's laying there and MVP's just standing there looking at him. Omos is standing there looking at him. He takes a minute to get up and put his feet on the floor. Why the hell didn't Omos move? Were they all confused? Like, wait a minute, he's supposed to roll onto the floor quickly. I mean, why did it take so? There was like a 10-second pause there where everybody was just looking at each other.
That's TV, man. I that's totally TV. They're real to make that moment more dramatic. You needed that pause to make it like to give the audience that moment to go and gasp over the fact that Bobby Lashley was just thrown through the cage wall. They needed that pause. The pause was a little long. I'll agree. The pause was kind of ridiculous with Omos just sitting there staring at him. They maybe could have thought of some way.
Well, commentary needed a chance
make it
to
easy
say
to where he wouldn't go walking down. Like, I don't know. They could have put an obstacle in his way or something to make it more obvious. But it's all TV. They wanted to make it more dramatic, so they had to have that pause in there. It was just a really long pause.
Yeah, I felt like commentary needed a chance to, react to the cage breaking and state that, oh, wait, Bobby could win if he just touched the floor. And then, but then Bobby was very slow to roll over. And I felt like the fact that Alexander was getting so involved and we had MVP poking him with the freaking pain through the cage, that MVP would do something. Maybe he would just go struggle with him and Lashley would end up on his feet. Now, some people will say this is a feud between Lashley and Omos, and Lashley, as the babyface, shouldn't want to run away to win. He didn't want to run away. He got thrown through the freaking cage. Now there was attempts to climb out, but he was getting interfered with by MVP and Cedric Alexander and all that, and he was in the cage with the monster. I think the point of a cage match is that you can't go ringside and you're there, and now the babyface thing to do is make the pin. He got thrown out of there and just realized he won. And I think the story there more is that Omos is a big, strong motherfucker. And MVP's got a serious issue with Bobby Lashley. Now, on top of that, we got Omos talking shit the whole time. Now, I'm sorry. We have MVP talking shit the entire time. MVP's been great behind the mic. He's also taking credit for everything good Omos has done or every progress Omos has made. I wonder at what point Omos is going to say, fuck you, MVP. You're not better than me. You're not the reason why I'm the Nigerian giant. And he turns babyface by turning on MVP. When do you see that happening, if it happens?
That's very possible. I could see that happening, and if they were smart, they could use Cedric Alexander to help with that too. Cedric Alexander keeps trying to get in the good favor of MVP, and he keeps failing. After attempt after attempt after attempt, he tries to help out, but he always ends up just getting in the way or not doing any good whatsoever. But I think eventually Cedric is going to get pissed off at MVP and throwing him in these bad situations and showing him how much work he's trying to do, and MVP is not acknowledging him at all. So why not have Cedric get in Omos's ear a little bit and be like, hey, Omos, look, MVP's just using you, man. He used me. He used Bobby Lashley. He uses everybody. The Hurt Business is no more because MVP used everybody up and then discarded them when he was done. So I think if they were smart, they could use Cedric Alexander to help out with that split between Omos and MVP. And seeing Omos as a babyface would be pretty cool, but I think they'd have to do a lot of work to get him to be babyface and to get the audience actually behind him, because he's taken quite a few L's as this character right now as a heel. And
you do want to be on What's Good in the Hood, don't you?
And this storyline is pretty much coming to its conclusion. That's for sure. I'm all right with it too. Who knows what they're going to do afterwards, though. I think Bobby's ready to move on to bigger fish, though. No pun intended.
Yeah, I think that, though, if they do the turn, I think MVP himself is such a dickhead and such an asshole manager that he organically gives the babyface that heat off the rub. And if let's just say Omos turns and he joins Lashley as some sort of dominant tag team, which would be a total under definition of Bobby Lashley if he did that. But then we'd have two freaking monsters that I don't think anybody would want to mess with. And then Lashley could, the babyface reactions Lashley's getting would translate to Omos somehow. I see the turn between Omos and MVP, but have no idea what I see after that. And I think we can move on there. We had the cage match. Now, the one thing I'll say about the cage match also, they started it. Cedric Alexander made the attack. Then they're all standing up at the top of the ramp. I didn't even know if they were going to have the match. They sent us to commercial with Omos back at the top of the ramp. Like, what the hell was that all about? Like, it looked like they were just going to go back to Gorilla and just say, oh, cage match didn't happen because Alexander came out, whatever. So,
I'm glad they didn't do that.
Yeah, we had some Judgment Day development. We'll get into that in a little bit because I'll tell you what, I'm liking Judgment Day now, and I want to save some time to talk about that. Also opposing them, we have a new little club of Balor, AJ Styles, and Liv Morgan. We'll get to that when we address Judgment Day. Let's talk about Alexa Bliss and Sonya Deville real quick. Alexa Bliss came out and hit a couple extra moves this time. Wasn't a complete squash. Deville looked a little bit better in the ring this time. But again, tried to cheat. Couldn't cheat to win. Lost to a DDT of all things, which was, a very quick finish there. And then slapped the referee. Do you see any repercussions for Sonya? What do you think they're doing here? And do you like the way they're using Bliss in this feud?
Well, on social media, I believe it's on Twitter. I think Adam Pearce put this on Twitter, but I can't remember. Somebody put it on there that Sonya is actually getting fined for her slap of a WWE official. So I know that there's an official repercussion for her action. I like that. I like that she's finally getting her comeuppance, and the match was it was okay. I mean, I did, to be honest, I did not enjoy it. Like if I were giving it a rating out of 5 stars, I'd probably give it like a 1.5 or a 2 at best, honestly. I don't think there's enough moves that they got in here. I don't think Sonya is really that great of a worker. The only thing she can do is slap people and then put them in a headlock. There's really not much else she can do in the ring. She's very limited. And I think that kind of showed in this match. I think Alexa Bliss was trying to do some more stuff, and Sonya just doesn't sell well. So it was kind of sloppy. Alexa looked good though. She's got, and I'm not talking about just physically because we all know she's an attractive woman. I'm talking about her work in the ring looked really good. She was selling really well. She had very good facial expressions. She was telling a good story, but I just wasn't enjoying what Sonya was doing in the match. She did an okay job of building heat by yelling at the crowd and yelling at the ref during the match and trying to untie the turnbuckle. So yeah, at least the psychology from that point was decent, but just the work in general, I wasn't happy with. But I like that finisher by Alexa. I like the DDT because DDT used to be a devastating move. It used to be a finisher, like
Right.
that used
Yeah.
to be a one and done. So I really liked that, especially since last time we saw Alexa, she did 2 moves and she won a match. I liked this match was a little bit longer, of course, but I like the DDT being the move that ended it. It did seem kind of like a rushed ending, honestly, though. Like she hit the DDT kind of out of nowhere, and then the match was over. I was a little disappointed in the quick ending, but they probably didn't give him much time anyway.
Yeah, it was an interesting night, man. Cause they had to shift stuff around because of the walkout, and then the change of the main event was shortened the main event, and it screwed up that third hour. The third hour did not flow right at all. Um,
Yeah.
you know, yeah, Bliss, the DDT as a finishing move should be a finishing move, not a transitional move like the super kick has become. Like, the super kick used to kill people. Now people don't even sell it. Um,
Right.
but uh, beyond all that, I think Bliss, when she wants to, just looks beautiful in the ring. When she hits the twisted bliss and things
Mhm.
like that, and the float overs, she's just very, very good in there. Deville, I thought she was stronger in the ring than she is, but I haven't seen anything I really liked recently. And quite frankly, according to what I've heard, neither is WWE. So I don't know what they're doing with her. Um, Now, that's pretty much that with that. I think Bliss eventually is going to move up the card here once they start using her more. We're still seeing her with the doll, but I can kind of make sense of that, judging by the fact that she had those therapy sessions, and the therapist did say, if you carry this around, you'll be normal. And we're seeing her normal now. She doesn't have that stupid beginning to her music anymore. That's like dun 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 dun. All that bullshit.
Yeah.
The Fiend stuff's gone.
Yeah, her
She,
Fiend music.
she
Yeah.
looks great, and I think that we got good things to look forward to there. We got Mustafa Ali here. Seems like he's feuding with The Miz. This match sort of crossed over into the Veer Mysterio feud, which we'll get to in just a moment. But we have Ali on social media all over. He wants a U.S. title shot. It seems like they're gonna work something with him in the U.S. title, but they're putting roadblocks up left and right for him. The Miz seems to always be involved in it, which is a good person to have involved in the mid card to to have a baby face gain sympathy and to further cement a heel. And they're doing so by having him interact with Theory and Ali as the guest referee and all this other stuff. So you have Theory come out teasing that he's going to be giving Ali a title shot. Then he says he learned from McMahon, expect the unexpected, brings Veer out. Ali hangs in there with Veer for a while until Miz gets in his way. Now, what was kind of weird about the match was Mustafa Ali was treating Miz like he was a real referee, sitting there complaining and all this other. why wouldn't you just get pissed off and be like, the hell with you, throw him out of the ring and get DQ'd anyway if that's what he wants to do? But the Miz is another performer that's pissing him off and not being fair in the match. Now the match ended up with Miz distracting him. Veer hits the forearm, cervical clutch, instant tap. When Veer goes to sort of monster up and clean house, the Mysterios run in and they do an assisted crossbody. They knock him out. It's the first time we've really seen anybody drop Veer like that. And now we have the Mysterios back on TV to get the revenge on Veer. We'll see how that goes. So, number one, what do you make of Ali and his feud? And number two, what do you make of Veer and the Mysterios?
Okay, so there was a lot that went down in this entire match and segment involving from the beginning of Theory coming out to the end where the Mysterios were standing strong standing tall in the middle of the ring. And you might be surprised to hear this, but this was actually my favorite match of the night. And I'm going to try to sell it to you because I'm pretty sure this was not everybody's favorite match of the night. But I absolutely love all of the stupid things that the Miz is doing to piss off the audience and to screw over Ali in this case. He comes out with the short pants, capris, I guess, if you want to call them, hilariously short, and he's showing off his rich shoes. I don't even know what kind of shoes they are, but I know they're extremely wealthy. They look like loafers with like gold on them. Absolutely ridiculous, and I loved it. I bet you somebody told him in the back when the last time he did his referee stint in the last episode. Somebody probably told him that his shoes looked ridiculous or that his pants looked too short. So then what does Miz do? Miz says, "Oh, you don't like that? Guess what? I'm going to do it even more." And I love that stuff. That is my favorite heel stuff to do. So I was loving the Miz throughout this entire match. I think I liked the psychology of the match too, where Ali kept trying to get his offense in on Veer, and Veer always had some way to shut him down once Ali started to get some momentum going. And that was a really good psychology throughout the match. And at the point where the Miz actually starts yelling at Ali and he pushes Ali's face, that's when Ali gets pissed off to the point where Ali decides that he's going to either strike or throw. He's about to do something physical to the Miz. And then that's where Veer comes out of nowhere with what is it called? The $1 million arm clothesline from hell that he does. And it's beautiful every time I see it. Veer, by the way, in this match looked even more vicious than he usually is. His moves looked cleaner, and Ali is fantastic at selling. Watch him take the shots from Veer and sell the crap out of him. The move that I've always hated from Veer is, I don't know what you call it, but Veer stands above you when you're on your knees and he basically just sits on you. I don't know what the move's called, but I don't like it. I think it's stupid to see somebody just like slightly put their weight on you. But this time, with the way Mustafa Ali sold it, it actually looked damaging. It actually looked like it hurt. So I enjoyed the hell out of this match, and it was short and sweet too. We don't need a long, extensive match between these two. I think the timing was perfect. I love the fact that after the match, Theory's taking a selfie with the Miz in the ring, and then the cervical clutch is still being put on Mustafa Ali. I thought that was a hilarious spot. I like the fact that the Mysterios came back in this match and they fought everybody off, and they put Veer on his butt, which you don't get to see too often. I liked it from top to bottom. I thought that they advanced so many different storylines in this, and they actually included some feuds. And this is great for Veer too, because I have been crapping on Veer for the last couple of weeks because all we see is the same match over and over and over again. But what this match did was it actually gave Veer's character some forward momentum. It gave him something to fight for. he's basically being used. Yes, but he's being used by the Miz and Theory, two huge heels in the company right now. And I think it's awesome that they're pulling Veer in, because now they can do other things where they can have Veer attack people, and it gives Veer a reason to be an asshole and to hurt people, because now he has people telling him to do it. Now he's got, I don't know if it's going to be the Miz or Theory or both of them, but it's almost like they could create a stable with the three of them, with Miz, Veer, and Theory. And I'd be down for that. That'd be a sweet, sweet heel faction. But I think that every character in this storyline got a little something out of it. The Miz's character, not so much, because he just is continuing to be dickhole Miz, which I love. I love seeing it. But the last thing I want to say about this whole situation is, I know a lot of people are looking at this like Ali is being buried. That is exactly what WWE wants you guys to think. Okay? They want you to think that they don't care about this Ali guy. They want you to think that they're putting everything in front of him because they don't want him to win anything or be anything. I think that at some point, Ali's going to get his day. He's going to get his comeuppance. It might be in the form of winning the U.S. title against Theory, but he's going to get his moment. And the reason why they're shitting so much on Ali is the same thing that they're doing with Lacey Evans. They're playing the long game. They're playing the audience. They're making you think one thing. So then when they finally do flip the switch on you and they let Ali have his run, it's going to feel that so much better. I mean, honestly, guys, like,
they're trying to
do this stuff all the time.
Get people behind Ali. You know, they're trying to get people to feel like, you know, we want him to, we hate these other motherfuckers.
Yeah.
And they want it to be a big deal. They don't want him to just go have a title match and lose it, or go have a meaningless title win. They want it to mean something. I appreciate that as well.
Exactly.
And I agree with you. They progressed everything here. Ali moved on with his stuff with Theory and Miz. Now back in the winter, Miz TV at house shows would be Miz TV with Dom, and then he'd call in Veer as a special opponent. Veer would no sell, beat the hell out of Dom, and win the match. And not tonight, but on Raw, that was the most really credible in-ring performance I've seen out of Veer, or an opponent, like most selling. And, you know, it was interesting. You know, if Miz didn't get in the damn way and we could have seen Ali do the tope suicido, the suicide dive, then, you know, it would have been even better. But, you know, so we see what they're capable of, you know.
That's the payoff, right?
Right. Yeah, they're saving it.
Like, that's part of the payoff.
Yeah, so it's gonna, and so having Veer actually work like that, getting the Mysterios back in, I'm sure Ray can work with him. I'm sure, I don't know about Dominic working with anybody, but, you know, Dominic's back. Hopefully some time off did him well, and you never know, man. I'm just glad to see things progress, as always, on Raw. You know, when they don't progress, it's annoying. When they do progress, it makes it worth it, and that's, you know, makes it worth talking about. So I'm glad that you saw it that way as well. Now, the other thing I wanted to say real quick.
Why wasn't I included?
Oh, wait, no, Dewdrop just said it for me. Why wasn't Dewdrop included in the main event? Again, her and Nikki Ash not included in the main event. We're going to talk about the main event real quick. Then we'll get to the Judgment Day segment, which was probably the best Judgment Day segment we've seen so far. And we also saw backstage Balor and AJ sort of recruit Liv to stand with them as 3 against the 3 in Judgment Day. So our main event was Asuka, Lynch, and Belair. We did go over it earlier. It was sort of their fallback plan after the 6-way match fell apart. Did you feel like it should have gone any other way than Asuka winning the way that she did? And do you think Becky has the claim for the triple threat? And just reiterate whether you think that's happening real quick.
As far as Asuka winning with the spit in the face, that is a heelish move, but I think they just don't know exactly what direction to pull Asuka's character yet. I think the only direction they have with it is that she's getting in Becky's way, and that's it. So I'm okay with this. It's a little bit of an ambiguous ending in the fact that, you have supposedly a babyface doing a heel move with the spit in the face, but it's okay because Becky was about to hit Asuka with a umbrella anyway. So it's tit for tat kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? Almost like Cody Rhodes winning with a roll up on Seth just after Seth was trying to roll him up. So, it's a tit for tat kind of thing. I'm okay with the ending. The only thing is, really, and this has nothing to do with the match itself, but I wanted to hear Bianca on the headset. She, I think she was just sitting next to the announcers and didn't say anything. She was just watching.
It feels like
I would
the
have loved
baby
to hear her
faces.
talk.
Yeah, it feels like the baby faces don't talk as much as the heels do when they do the commentary. The baby faces usually just sit there, observe, and then somehow get beaten up by a heel at some point in the match. Think back to Big E when Kevin Owens turned heel and apron bombed him. You know what I mean? He was just standing there.
Yeah.
He never really said anything. Sad talking about Big E, by the way, but that's a whole nother show.
I was just thinking about him the other day. Yeah. Well, when you're talking about like commentary, it's nothing like when you had KO,
oh
doing
my
his
God, that we got to talk about that
Elias thing.
I was gonna
Funniest
skip
thing
that.
ever.
Funniest thing ever, man.
Well, I got nothing more to say really about Asuka Belair and Lynch. They just need to have their 3-way match, and that's it.
Yeah, and really with the KO Elias thing, the only thing to say about that is that Kevin Owens is making this seemingly meaningless storyline incredibly hilarious and entertaining.
Yes.
He is one of the funniest motherfuckers I've seen. I mean, he's out there on commentary blaming the screen guy, blaming the guy in the truck, the music guy.
That was great.
Sitting there saying
he's a liar, you're all liars.
Yeah, he called Byron Saxon a liar for saying that Cody Rhodes hasn't wrestled in 6 years.
Yeah, he called him out on that.
Yeah,
and then I think he also accidentally said Elias, and he's like, "Oh, even you called him Elias."
I know, that was so funny. And then he said, "Look, Ezekiel's even stealing Elias's signature moves, and it wasn't even his signature move; it was like a knee to the head." After a counter to like a double axe handle off the top rope, like not a move that every wrestler does. And he was like, that's his signature move set. What the hell is he doing? And then he flipped out about the DNA results backstage. Some people said they thought the DNA results segment was like a trash segment. I thought it was pretty funny and well done.
It's funny.
People were like, well, wouldn't they open up the envelope earlier? No. Okay. They just got the envelope and the storyline, and Kevin took a look at it, and Kevin said, what the hell? It's got barbecue sauce contaminated in it. So I thought that was funny. I thought it was funny how
it's hilarious.
Yeah. They blamed it on Otis, and this, I don't know where they're going really, where it's going to end up with the Ezekiel stuff, but it's entertaining me while it's there. And so that's all I can really say.
The
about
match
it.
wasn't even that great. So really it kind of, in my opinion, kind of saved the match too. Cause I was getting a little bored watching them wrestle, to be honest. Not like either of them are horrible. I love Chad Gable in the ring. He's awesome. He's so good. But Ezekiel or Elias or whatever you want to call him was kind of putting me to sleep, to be honest, until he got fired up at the end. So I'm glad KO was there to really help with the commentary.
Yep, I agree, man. I think KO added a lot there, and he's going to continue to do that. And I like the way I like the creative they're doing there. Next up, we had Seth Rollins again here with Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes actually cut the promo. Seth Rollins showed up on the big screen to respond to the promo, and it ends up that they're going to be in a Hell in a Cell match at the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. We're seeing these two men fight again for the third time. They've put on a hell of a clinic the first 2 times. I thought the only thing I had a problem with in this promo was the fact that Cody ended it with, I'll see you in hell. I thought that was a pretty cheesy line, but
Typical.
Other than that, what do you feel about the feud, this segment, and the upcoming Hell in a Cell match? Does it warrant the sell? And do you think we're going to see a good match? I don't think you really even have to answer that, but elaborate anyway.
Yeah, this is where we all saw this going. And like I said before, I could see 5 matches. I could see 10 matches between these two guys, and I'd be happy. Seth's my favorite, and Cody is highly running up the ranks pretty quickly for me in my favor. I love them both. Great workers. Seth has had a few matches in Hell in the Cell, and I think he does an excellent job. I know some people dog on him about his Hell in a Cell matches, but his last one with Edge was fantastic. I think he's a great character to put in a cell, especially with his heel tactics. He does such a good job with his heel tactics in ring and a psychology that it just makes sense to put him in Hell in a Cell. And I want to see what Cody does there too. So yeah, I'm excited for this match. I think it's gonna be fantastic. I mean, it's gonna be hard for them to top what they've done, but I thought that as well at Backlash, and I was just as happy to see that match at Backlash as I was at WrestleMania. So it does, for me, they don't have to top it. They just have to give me something new and advance their storyline along with this third match. I'm looking forward to it. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it too. I think they'll do a great job. They'll make use of the cell. And, it's the 2 top wrestlers I think they have, face and heel, available to them for this pay-per-view. And I think it's going to show itself there. I don't think they're going to disappoint. It's not going to be something that we're looking forward to. And we're like, what the hell? That wasn't as good as we thought it was. They work at a pretty good pace. They're not sloppy. I think that Seth is one of the best wrestlers, if not the best wrestler they have. And I think that Cody's not far behind him. And they both have the pride and the ability to do so and put on a good match. They're not going to just mail anything in. Even if it's the third of a trilogy, they're going to make it the best. So I'm confident in it.
Same with the promos too.
Right.
Like it does. They can keep running promos on each other, and they always make it interesting. I liked that Seth used the quote "shielded up." I'm sorry, not Seth. Cody talking about Seth. He used the quote "shielded up" when he came in. Referencing the Shield. I really liked that reference, and I loved that when Seth showed up, he called him "Countdown to Cody." Cody. I thought that was hilarious. He's like, "Hey, what's up? Countdown to Cody." Because I thought it was kind of ridiculous that Raw had that countdown to Cody thing, saying, oh, he's going to speak in 2 hours and then 1 hour. I really like the fact that Seth called that out. So they're great at promos too.
But what makes it annoying is that when they have that countdown thing and then they have a match and a fucking countdown clock, the match ain't going very long because there's a countdown clock letting you know that they have something else planned coming up. So that's a little bit weird. Now, I'm going to mention quickly during the 24/7 segment that we saw Carmella have an interaction with Dana Brooke and R-Truth. It looks like Dana Brooke and Carmella are going to have some sort of feud coming up, and that R-Truth wants the 24/7 title from Dana, as always. The one thing I'll also say is that we did not see Zelina Vega. We haven't seen her since she got slapped in the face by Sonya. I don't know where she's been, but I think they need to use Zelina. I think that she's underrated in the ring, and I think she's very good at promo. She may be the best promo they have in the ladies department. She used to be Andrade's manager, and she was great. So we don't even need to get into that because it's not even part of the show. The next thing up on the show was...
All you need to know is that R-Truth is funny. That's all you need to know.
Yeah, he does the best with what he's got, and... he's a pretty funny guy. That's all we really need to know about 24/7. Nothing really progressed there, except we may have a feud between Dana and Carmella for anybody who really is that interested in seeing those two ladies go at it for 90 seconds in the ring, if they're given that. But, somebody who wasn't cutting promos very well before.
Mate, this isn't high school. And I'm not going to let your pettiness hurt Nikki's feelings.
There it was with the pettiness for Rhea Ripley. She was in the promo for Judgment Day here. We're actually going to play the entire promo for you. It's about 3 minutes long, but we feel like this was the best Judgment Day has done, and all three of them spoke. Here it is real quick. Damian Priest leads it off.
Around here, we don't take any orders. We do what we want to whoever we want. And if any of your precious heroes want to step to us, they'll face nothing but punishment.
We are done being everything that you all wanted us to be. I will not be the figure of my mistakes. There is nothing holding me back. Now, it's time for complete and utter eradication.
We are at the forefront of something that most of you cannot understand, especially the low-hanging fruit on the evolutionary tree that is most of you. But there's some of you that are tired of pretending. See, I travel the country, I travel the world, and I see it in your faces. You're angry. And with the state of the world today, who can blame you? So stop being sheep. Join us, join our movement. Grab this bolt of electricity and throw some meaning into your life, some excitement. Here's our mission statement: Judgment Day equals power. So accept this gift or continue to live your purgatory of an existence. You've seen what we've done to your favorites: Liv Morgan, AJ Styles, Finn Balor. And I've seen how this all plays out. More will come to us, more will join. As a matter of fact, my arms are spread wide open to any WWE superstar who wants to join us, who wants to take their career to the next level with my genius guiding their way. It could even be you, AJ Styles. Think about it. More than anyone, you should understand, after everything you've been through, we could use your athleticism, your leadership, your tenacity. AJ, your problem is you try to please everyone else, and I get it. I did too. I used to jump off 20-foot ladders thinking that their adulation would somehow fulfill me. But it didn't. It left me with a body full of broken bones and a career that was over before it should have been. And then where were they? Gone. Join our movement. AJ, it's not too late. We can put the past behind us and you can start climbing onward and upward and join us on top of the mountain. It's a beautiful place to be. So Liv, Finn, AJ, the choice is yours. This has to end. And it can end with you standing by our side or laying at our feet again and again and again. As long as it takes.
All right, so there it is, and you hear Punishment Martinez reference there from Damian Priest saying that he is the punishment. He's been referred to as the punishment and all that. And then we hear Rhea Ripley, cut a little bit of promo that we're kind of expecting out of her. But Edge really hit it great there. He wasn't just aiming at low-hanging fruit or anything like that. It was well articulated. The man is a wordsmith. I really like it. And now, finally, I have decided to stop being a sheep, and I like what Judgment Day is doing. I've always liked the concept of it. I've always liked having a guy like Edge leading a faction with other wrestlers underneath him who are coming up. And I just think that now the presentation of it looks good. I'm excited to see them get more members. Don't want to have too many. I don't want to see 13 Judgment Day members, but 5, 6 max. 4 definitely would be great. I see Ciampa, maybe T-Bar joining it. I don't see AJ Styles joining it. I think that was part of the promo, part of him, baiting him in. And a lot of people think Balor's going to turn on AJ. I don't see that either. I don't think somebody of Balor's status needs to be in this Judgment Day faction, although he is somebody who could use the support of a faction. What do you think?
I agree. I can't see AJ or Finn Balor joining them anytime soon. Because you have to ask yourself why. What would be the reasoning for AJ or Balor to join them outside of them just saying, join us? Like, really, it wouldn't help them. The only reason that they're floundering is because Judgment Day is in their way. So Judgment Day just gets out of their way, then they have no more problems. So I don't see AJ or Finn joining them anytime soon. Plus, you've got AJ and Finn Balor just now reunited and doing their whole Too Sweet thing from the Bullet Club, and they're having great time with that. So you don't just split that kind of thing up when you just started it. So I don't think it's going to be either of them. Edge did an open invite to anybody and everybody. So I really think that your guesses of Ciampa or T-Bar are good guesses. I think the number one would be Ciampa. It just makes sense. We didn't see him in the last episode, I don't believe, right? Because he was attacking Ali out of nowhere, but
Yeah, he wrestled
No,
on main event against
okay.
I want to say Shelton Benjamin, somebody like that.
Well, Shelton's injured. Was it Cedric?
Yeah, Cedric Alexander. Yeah, Shelton's injured. That's why
Gotcha.
a lot of people were like,
So,
"Where the hell
yeah.
is Shelton?" But he's injured. That's why we only see Cedric. But yeah, I think Cedric and Ciampa were
Yeah.
on main event. We also saw Street Profits against some tag team on main event. I don't even remember who it was, but Street Profits were on main event of all people.
Interesting.
Matter of fact, it may have been the Creed brothers who were against the Street Profits in main event.
I'm gonna have to watch it now. I'm 1 week behind on main event. So and on main event, it babyface and heel doesn't matter because it doesn't have anything to do with the main storyline on the main roster. So you can have anybody face anybody there, which is cool.
So they had him on
But
main
yeah,
event.
I think Ciampa's the guy.
Yeah, as long as they like what I mean, they had him in the ring with Ali last week. As long as they are okay with him in the ring on the main roster, because they relegated him back to main event this week. But maybe that's just part of the schedule. He was doing those random attacks, so I agree we could see him. We talked about this a lot, though. We don't have to get too much into where we think they're going. I think the most important thing is that they had a good segment there, and for me, and I think I've heard a lot of other people have been skeptical of this faction, it's turned me in the direction of supporting it. And
I'm so glad to hear that.
Yeah, so now you won't hear me cutting it down all the time.
Matt, come to the dark side.
Yeah, I am not. I'm a sheep who followed the herd now. But at the same time, speaking of sheep, we have AJ Finn approaching Liv Morgan as she's getting harassed by Los Lotharios before the tag match they had, which, by the way, we didn't talk about that tag match, but that was a good match they had with the Lotharios.
Very good.
I thought that the ending of it, hitting the coup de grace and the forearm simultaneously, was great, and the stereo crossbody springboards were great that they hit.
Yeah, the whole ending sequence. Yep.
Yeah, so nice match by them. The Tharios can go in the ring, so I can't complain too much about them going over to the Raw roster, other than the fact that it'd be nice if there was just more tag teams in general for them to work with. But we see them harassing Liv a little bit, trying to make her the kiss cam lady, who was another plant in the crowd this week. And they get approached by Finn Balor and AJ Styles. AJ Styles basically tell Liv, listen, they're going to pick us apart one by one if we don't stay together, because Liv obviously has the rivalry with Rhea Ripley, and Styles has the rivalry with Edge, and Priest and Balor have been going at it for God knows how long. So we have 3 different people have been targeted by members of Judgment Day, seemingly trying to join forces here. Now, we didn't know if Liv was going to join forces until the match started, and Liv came out first, cheered him on during the match. She cut a promo during this show, which again was a typical Liv Morgan promo that was very poorly delivered, seemed very scripted, didn't seem very confident.
And she was interrupted.
Yeah. Well, no, she was interrupted by Lothario, and she acted like she knew she was about to be interrupted. I think that was what I felt to be. There's just a disconnect with her behind the camera, and I think that her with AJ and with Balor is good. And I think having a 3-person babyface little team right now is a good thing to have when you have a faction of heels running roughshod on the other side. The other part of this is that throughout this whole thing, when they joined each other and they finished the match with a little too sweet, all 3 of them in the ring, that was a good moment. But commentary over and over again saying, finally, the odds are even with Judgment Day. 3-on-3 on 3-on-3, 3-on-3. Odds are even. I must have heard that a dozen times over the course of 10 minutes. And to me, they're belaboring that point because it's not going to be even odds. Someone else is joining Judgment Day sooner rather than later. Maybe not until the next high-profile match, but definitely somebody else is joining them if they're putting over evening the odds. But what do you think about the Liv Morgan, Balor, and AJ thing and Judgment Day getting a new member because of that commentary point? I know we already think they're getting a new member, but
yeah, I love the combo of adding Liv to AJ and Balor. It makes a lot of sense. I think you can see too how obvious it is backstage. The promos that are cut between Liv and people that are actually really good at promos. I hate to say it that way, but as soon as AJ and Finn show up, just listen to their delivery of their lines. It's not like they're saying anything significant, but just the way that they deliver it, it seems emotional in the right sense. The emotions are attached to what they're saying, and they say it very cleanly and simply. And for some reason, Liv just can't do that. So I love that she's with them now. I hope that they are a mouthpiece more for her because she needs a little bit more management. She needs some help with on the promo side. So adding these two, which by the way, if anybody forgot, Finn Balor is fantastic at promos. It's almost like you were saying about Zelina Vega, right? These are people that they have in their company that are fantastic at certain things that they're not using for those certain things. I don't get it. It doesn't make sense to me. You know, if I'm if I'm putting together a band and I have somebody good at guitar and then I put them on drums, what the hell am I doing putting them on drums when they're good at guitar? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's dumb. Not this. I'm not trying to say that Finn's bad at anything, but he's so good at promos. Give him more time in front of the camera on it with a mic. He deserves it. It's the same thing with AJ. I mean, he doesn't get enough time in front of the mic. We need to give these guys more time because they're really good at it. So I'm glad that they can be more of a vocal mouthpiece for Liv because she needs the assistance. And plus, I think that it's going to be awesome to have the 3-on-3 match that everybody sees coming between Judgment Day and these three people. I think that Hell in a Cell actually would be a perfect place to put it. Because we already know Cody and Seth are going to be the men's Hell in a Cell match. A lot of people think that we need to put the women in a Hell in a Cell match. Well, right now, I feel like the feuds just aren't strong enough to put two women alone in a match in Hell in a Cell. And they're definitely not building the tag team titles enough right now, obviously, with the tag team championships walking out. So I don't foresee them as members of a Hell in a Cell match. So I think this 6-person mixed tag team match is actually a really good match to put in Hell in a Cell. Now, as far as somebody else joining, Judgment Day and getting involved in here, again, like you said, they kept reiterating that the odds are even. There's a good chance that somebody's going to pop up. But when you have Hell in a Cell, the point is to keep people out, right? So people can't get involved. But I'm not going to say that means anything because we just saw with the cage match against Omos and Bobby that somebody got involved, and numerous other matches that are Hell in a Cell or cage matches, people get involved. So it's highly possible if somebody gets involved. This is my crazy, probably not going to happen prediction, but what the hell is Bray Wyatt doing out there these days? Wouldn't he be great in Judgment Day? I'm just saying he'd be an awesome 4th member to join that group. It's not going to happen, but that's a fantasy booking for me.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of different people that we can imagine that being there that would fit it pretty well. I don't know that Bray Wyatt's anybody that would want to do something like that just because he's very creative himself and he would want to be the one creating the whole thing. I don't think he would want to give Edge the creative control out of the faction. But no, I'm spelling a bold prediction from you that I don't even need to spell.
It's not going to happen, but I'd love it.
Good ideas from you. Good thoughts. I like it. You ready for some trivia?
Let's do it.
righty, the question is going to be, given that we've seen a cage match recently, who was the first winner of a steel cage match for the WWE Championship? Now, the key to it is the WWE title in a cage match.
Oh, man. In a cage match, WWE. Well, I'm probably going to get this wrong several times. Let's see if I can... I'm trying to think of what year it might have been if you're talking about WWE.
So it's a little bit more recent. It's the first WWE Championship to be won within a steel cage. More recent than you would think. And it's somebody who's very popular. And I don't think I could say much more than that, or I would give it away.
It's Omos. No, I'm kidding.
Not that recent. Within the last 20 years.
This is probably not it, but Triple H?
Keep going. I'll give you one more try.
Okay. Am I going too far back?
No. That's about the time.
Okay.
Okay, I'll give you one last hint.
I don't think it's Undertaker.
Okay, this person's no longer living. That's my last clue.
Oh, okay. I'm going to be honest. I don't know. Could it have been Eddie Guerrero?
It was Eddie Guerrero to win the first steel cage match for the WWE Championship. And I'm sorry, I should have worded this correctly. My question actually was, who won the first steel cage match for the championship on SmackDown, not in WWE history. I meant in SmackDown.
And it just doesn't matter what type of match it is. It could be The Rock and Triple H in a no DQ match. It could be The Rock and DX in a handicap match. It could be The Rock and Stephanie in a stick 50 balloons right up your match.
That's what The Rock has to say about different kinds. He doesn't give a damn about when where the match is. Okay, but I just wanted some trivia there for you. Eddie Guerrero, first ever to win a SmackDown cage match for the WWE title. He beat JBL back in 2004. Now we'll get into our awards for the week, my friend. So what did you have for your awards? Where are we going to start here? We had so much to go over.
Woo. Well, let's talk about promos first, because that's kind of where we just left off with Judgment Day. That is by far my favorite promo, or my favorite segment of both shows, SmackDown and Raw. I will make an honorable mention, though. I enjoy Cody's style of promo. I like his more intellectual way of saying things. So it's kind of that was a far distant second place. I really like the Cody Seth promo, but Judgment Day by far best promo.
Yeah, for me it was Judgment Day, not even close. I mean, not something for me, not something I've seen before with Judgment Day hitting it out of the park. They were great with their timing. It was good to see Rhea Ripley the way she was. Punishment Martinez did his job. And Edge was the best he's been since Judgment Day. The fact that I've seen Cody cut these promos well for as long as he's been here, and Seth's always been a great promo. I can't award them best promo of the week because of that. I think Judgment Day, the fact that they swayed me and swayed other people, they deserve, in my opinion, best promo of the week.
And Edge didn't have to mention the sports team either.
Yeah, he didn't go cheap. He went for everything, and he convinced me that what he's doing is great. What did you have for the worst promo or segment of this week?
I'm not down for Lacey Evans promos anymore. I'm over them. I'm done with them. I understand what they're doing now, so they're just kind of nothing to me. Asuka was acting like a baby while she was trying to call Becky a baby. I didn't quite enjoy that. Even the interviewer, by the way, couldn't keep a straight face while Asuka was doing her thing. She was just like kind of smirking and trying to look the other way because Asuka was crazy. But my worst promo, and it's the reigning, defending, undisputed champion of worst promos goes to ding ding, you guessed it, Ronda. Always horrible in the ring. Couldn't even understand what she was saying for the first couple sentences. And then I didn't even understand the promo anyway. She's like, Charlotte's great. Charlotte's won all these championships. Charlotte's awesome. Charlotte's a great competitor, blah, blah, blah. Charlotte's awesome. But I've got the title now. Okay, Ronda, good for you. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, Ronda wasn't great on her I mean, I was in the building for that. You could barely hear her. She had no energy whatsoever, as usual. I felt like I gave her a pass because the content of it was to get her the open challenge. She made the open challenge. She had the match, so I give her a pass for that one. I guess we've seen so many terrible ones by her anyway. So I actually definitely think it was Asuka. I mean, I got just the calling Becky a baby and making the noises and jumping around and acting like a goofball. Just turns me. I mean, if that's the Asuka they're bringing back after all these months, send her back for another 9 months. I mean, seriously.
Exactly.
I understand that there may be some people who like Asuka the way she is, and I don't have too much of a problem with her character. It's just certain things. It's like I said, like, I feel like it's disrespectful by creative to her heritage, to make her someone who has no ability to put together any type of even broken English sentence. Like I've said, what the statistics are, even if you don't try, if you're in the States surrounded by people who speak a certain language for a certain amount of time, you're going to pick it up, even if it's broken. And after a certain amount of time, you're going to become fluent in it, even if you don't try. And so them to keep doing this to Asuka just makes the character not make sense, but it isn't serious enough. It's not serious enough for somebody that I think is a serious competitor and for somebody who they want us to take as a serious competitor. So I don't need to say anything more than that. Asuka's promo, calling Becky a baby, was annoying. I thought the same thing about the interviewer not being able to even stick with it. What do you think was the best line of the night for both nights?
There's quite a few lines that Pat McAfee had that just the way he delivers his lines is hilarious. I liked that when Sami Zayn was running away, he kept going, "This is his finisher. This is Sammy's finisher." I thought that was hilarious. He was calling Sammy's running away being a finisher. That was really funny. And then when the New Day came out, he was talking about something, but then the New Day came out and he just very like anticlimactically, very boringly just said, "It's a new day." Yes, it is. I thought that was so funny. Honorable mention as well. Just one quick line from Shotzi when she told Aaliyah, "If you don't know how a door works, that's your problem." I thought that was kind of funny. But the best line was literally everything KO said. Like I'm not even going to say one thing. It was every single thing that KO said when he had the headset on.
I'll do it for you.
It was so funny. Please do.
KO saying Ezekiel's finisher was the knee to the face. That was the funniest thing he said.
That was great.
Yeah, so that was my best line. I think we both agreed KO was hilarious. Pick anything he said and it would make best line, I think. So what do you think?
He actually tells good jokes.
Yeah, he tells great everything. Who was the worst line you thought?
That would be the person that tells bad jokes. And that would be Happy Corbin. As Madcap is being put in the ambulance, Happy Corbin says, "What do you call the place that they're sending you?" "The Mospital." I can't do these stupid jokes anymore. I need both of them to stop doing the stupid jokes. But that line in particular, it got to me. I didn't enjoy it.
Yeah, I was caught between Madcap Moss saying I want to make a tag team called Madcap Boss because I thought that was dumb as hell. And I also thought everything Asuka said was terrible. I already mentioned her as having the worst segment, but her lines were bad too. Thank God we know she's not the one writing them. Whoever is should probably figure out something different for her because it doesn't work, man. I mean, I don't know if you disagree or agree with me, but they need to present her differently.
Right. It's just no character development.
Yeah. So who'd you have for best gear?
Best gear? Well, Madcap is still wearing suspenders, which is annoying, right? That's my worst gear. My best gear is Sami Zayn wearing a blonde line shirt. Pretty simple. Worse than best.
Funny, because I say best gear was Owens wearing the I Love Sami Zayn shirt, and worst gear was Omos wearing a. I just feel like Omos needs to wear something else besides a sweatshirt and sweatpants. You know, and where we got Bobby Lashley
Yeah.
coming out on a podium, rocking his nice black and red tights, looking like a champ. You got Omos in there looking like a slob.
Yeah, with his wife beater on, and
Yeah.
I don't get it. So both of us are complaining about redundant, overused gear that these people are using. I will throw out an honorable mention, though, if you want to call it gear. Why did New Day bring back the trombone? Get rid of the freaking trombone. You got rid of it for like a month and then you brought it back. I consider that as part of your gear. Please get rid of it.
I think they just need to get rid of New Day and Fight Night need to be done with each other. I mean, Jesus Christ. So what do you think was the most important moment?
Well, there's actually a couple important moments, but to me personally, I actually think even though I did not like Rhonda's promo or her delivery of her promo, I thought it was very important that she did the open challenge because we haven't really seen this in a while from a champion giving out open challenges for her title, especially a woman. So I actually think that's awesome. I love the fact that Rhonda did that. I think that's very important for the women's division as well, so they can have their chances where like people like Shotzi and Aaliyah can step in and challenge and actually make sense. And also part of that whole moment was Raquel's match with Rhonda. And that match really showed Raquel's power. I really love the fact that Raquel came out there and accepted the match. And although she lost, she still shook Rhonda's hand. I thought that whole scenario was a pretty big moment altogether. What do you think is your most important moment?
I thought that was an important sequence, and everything that played out there was great. It's important for Ronda to have the fighting champion moniker attached to her as babyface champion, given her character. You know, I think, you know, you've heard me say and others, you know, talk about Ronda being miscast and things like that. So they got to do tricks like that to get her accepted by the fans as a babyface. That being said, my most important moment, though, being there in the building for it, feeling the reaction to it, seeing it in person, and, you know, being a part of the pop that happened was the knee to the face to Roman Reigns by Riddle. It just came out of nowhere. It looked stiff as hell.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I was straight on with it, the angle I had, and it looked like he connected with it, and Reigns looked pissed. And he had Paul Heyman there freaking, you know, checking him out. It was such a big moment, or such an unexpected thing, you know, in kayfabe, that it distracted the whole bloodline from going after RK Bro and allowed them to
Yeah.
get away. You know, they weren't
Yeah,
expecting
and it's
it.
involving your most important storyline and your most important wrestlers.
And it elevates the hell out of Riddle. It shows that he's not a bitch,
Yeah.
and he's going to do something like that. And I think that, you know, that plays into Riddle, you know, the Easter eggs I say that are being laid throughout for what may be in the future for Riddle and Orton, or Riddle separate from Orton. So I think that was an important moment. And it was just, you know, being in especially ending the show after the pops for RK Bro twice, and then almost a huge pop when he nailed Roman in the face. I mean, it was great. And normally people don't like seeing Roman getting disrespected, and they liked it that night with RK Bro. So, you know, that to me was most important. What do you think was at least most important?
I'm really glad that you had that like in-person perspective for that too. That really helps, especially the listeners at home that don't get to go to see the shows live. So that's awesome that you have that live feedback. I had two things that I thought were very unimportant. Obviously, anything involving the 24/7 segment to me is unimportant. They've made the title unimportant. Now Carmella is unimportant. So anything involving that. But my number one least important thing is this Los Lotharios kiss cam. I really don't like it. And I'm going to tell you why. And this might sound a little ridiculous, but this, in my opinion, is just more objectification of women. And I just don't think it's necessary in today's world to have this. I know they could be kissing anybody, you know, but I'm just saying, like, it's really just objectifying women to the point that it's just making them just look like sexual objects again. So I really don't like it. And I think it's not necessary whatsoever. I know you're trying to like get Los Lotharios over as the Latin lovers, but there's other ways to do that. Get them involved with actual wrestlers, with women wrestlers. Get them involved with storylines. Don't have them just kissing random women in the audience. First of all, nobody in today's world in COVID would ever do that. Nobody. Like, nobody's allowing two strange, sweaty, creepy wrestler men to kiss them. It's just not happening. So I don't like it. Get rid of it. It's the least important thing out there right now. It's less important than the 24/7 segment. That's how unimportant it is to me.
Yeah, the kiss cam thing's dumb. The objectifying women part of it's probably true. You know, WWE sees it as something entertaining, and then they have a TV show with two guys that are supposed to be attractive to women in whatever way. They, you know, I can't believe they keep referring to them as the Lethal Lovers. You know, after I told you that there were serial killers named the Lethal Lovers who, like,
Yeah, what are they doing?
I don't get that at all. But you know, WWE thinks that since it's staged and, you know, people know it's a plant, that it's okay. It's still stupid. It's a waste of time. I agree with you. It's a dumb segment. But to me, again, see, a lot of yours are repeat things and minor new things we've seen. And R-Truth, Carmella, and Dana, I don't give a crap about Carmella and Dana feuding. And I don't care if R-Truth gets the 24/7 title back from Dana through Carmella. I think that whole interaction was a waste of time. You had Dana running into Carmella with her doing her makeup. You know, back in the day, it used to be run into somebody backstage when they're doing something like drinking a cup of coffee or whatever. Now we got Carmella doing her makeup. And I believe last week, was it, we had Corey Graves flirting with Dana or something, or I'm not sure, but
They tried to reference it this time, but it was a really bad transaction between Carmella and Dana. Like I watched it back again today. Yeah, and I still don't even understand.
Probably the two worst women at talking.
It's so bad.
Yeah.
And basically the long story short is Carmella wants you to watch her show. That's it. They just want you to watch Carmella and Corey Graves show that's, you know, not on WWE. So
she wants you to think her husband's as hot as she thinks she is. You know, like, nobody gives a fuck about that, you know?
No.
But so yeah, that was my least important moment. And finally we get to the matches. Go best and worst match. We'll start with worst match, then we'll go with our best matches, and we'll do one for Raw and SmackDown for best match. Just worst match overall though. What'd you think?
Well, worst match overall, in my opinion, and I know a lot of people might disagree, but the match between Sonya Deville and Alexa Bliss, I just didn't enjoy it. Sonya looks stiff. She still doesn't look great in the ring. I thought maybe after having some time out of the ring with doing official work that she could work on her in-ring stuff. By the time she came back, she'd show some improvement. I didn't see anything. Plus, the other reason I didn't like the match too much is because it didn't really tell any story for Alexa Bliss outside of the fact that Alexa Bliss is back. That's it. I want to see some character development. I want to see some storyline with her, and the match didn't give us either of that. Honorable mention, it wasn't the worst match, but the worst move that I saw from both nights was Kofi Kingston trying to jump over the top rope, and then he pumped out. He pumped out he pump faked like 6 or 7 times, not jumping over the rope. It was so dumb. The rest of the match was okay, but that moment I was just like, what the hell are you doing, Kofi?
Yeah, I thought Kofi did a good job in his match with Butch was fine. Just getting on Woods' head when you're supposed to be in the middle of a fight, I thought was stupid. Trombone shit was stupid.
Yeah.
But whatever. For worst match, I had Veer's match. I don't like the involvement of Miz as the referee. I didn't think it was played right. I thought Ali should be portrayed a little bit smarter, knowing that Miz isn't a real referee. And if he's going to get in the way of a suicide dive, why not just run through there and baseball slide drop kick him? You know, get yourself
I was hoping to
disqualified.
sell you on that match.
Yeah,
Because I love that match.
I liked the fact that we saw Veer do something new. I liked the fact that Ali's story progressed. I liked the fact that we got progression with the Mysterios and Veer. And, Veer's just sort of a side piece in the Ali story. He's not going to continue to mess with Ali. He's messing with the Mysterios. But at the end of the day, it was still a stupid involvement by Miz that allowed Veer to hit that sit down squat into the cervical clutch, finish it off. And it was just, to me, I felt like Mustafa Ali should have been booked to interact with Miz a little bit more as the fake referee instead of honoring him like he's a real referee, throwing his hands up like he's not going to touch him and all that stuff. But again, that's them having Ali portray himself as a babyface who's not going to stir up trouble, I guess. So best match, what'd you have?
So surprisingly, what do you think my best match was? It's Ali versus Veer. I loved it because it showed every single character moving on a little bit in some way. And it had the return of the Mysterios. And it had Ali getting pushed down some more by WWE, which I think is a good story before we get Ali's inevitable rise, because they got to push him down into the ground and push his face into the mud and make him look terrible before they clean him up and make him the pretty baby face that he's supposed to be. So I liked that a lot. I think I hope that Veer actually teams up with either Theory or The Miz or both somehow in the next couple weeks, or maybe Veer does their bidding. I don't know. But I just liked everybody's involvement in this. And I know you weren't a huge fan of The Miz being an official and Ali treating him like that. But the reason I like it is because I think The Miz is kind of trying to represent being the WWE. And the biggest villain ever to anybody in the world is always the company you work for, right? It's always the guy in charge. It's always the people with power. It's always the people that are in control. And I think that they're kind of taking that and they're putting that image on The Miz. I feel like he's almost becoming like a representative of the over-controlling WWE. And that's why they're facing him up against Ali and having him specifically crap on Ali. So I actually really liked all that stuff. I've got a lot of honorable mentions because there was a lot of good matches. The Sammy versus Riddle match was awesome. Such great athleticism between them. Great selling. I really liked the Ronda versus Raquel match. It meant a lot too. It had a championship on the line. I really liked the way Lotharios and AJ and Finn worked. The finishing sequence was amazing. But overall, I felt like Ali and Veer was my favorite. I know that's not your favorite though, since you just said it was your worst match. What's your favorite match?
Okay, so on SmackDown, my favorite match was the Riddle match. I thought that was the best worked out of all of them. I did think that the women's tag title match was pretty good as well. However, the Riddle match was just better. And being, with it being a singles match, it was just cleaner, better done. They teased us with the finish with Zayn teasing the count out, Riddle finishing it with the Bro Derek. And then the best match on Raw, I figured, was the tag match between Lotharios, AJ, and Finn. I thought the stuff Finn and AJ were able to do with the springboard crossbodies, like I said, and the stereo finishers was a nice spot. So, that was amazing. And that was basically what I had for best match. Other than that, I think that does it for our awards, though. You got anything else on this week in WWE before we say goodbye to our listeners for this session?
It was overall a good week, in my opinion. Both SmackDown and Raw had a lot of movement, had some good matches on there too. So I enjoyed it. I really want to see how this whole Sasha Banks Naomi thing works out. I really hope that nothing is permanent as far as them leaving. I hope that we get to see them within the next month in WWE again. So we'll see. And of course, listeners, we'll keep you up to date with that. Matt has constant updates almost every single day. He's posting something for you guys to listen to. So just keep listening to at Beyond the Mat, and we'll keep you guys informed.
All right. Sounds good. Absolutely. We will. Remember to follow us on Twitter at Beyond Mat WWE. We are available on all podcast platforms. Please leave us a 5-star rating when you can. If you have time, leave a review. We're always going to be here for you, especially right now with all the news going down. We also have some new shows we're getting ready to produce for you guys. Get some more content out there for you. It's been a pleasure having you on, Kyle.
Always a pleasure.
And, you guys want to email, get involved in the show, we'll address you on the show for sure. Just email us, matt@beyondthemat.com. And other than that, we're pretty much done here. I am going to do what I normally do here.
I think I'm going to go to the nearest nudie bar and have a drink.
And then we're going to head out of here. But that's all I got for you guys. I'm out of here. Have a good one. Take it easy. And I'll see you next time.
Good night, everybody.
Thanks for listening to Beyond the Mat. Remember to subscribe so you don't miss a show.